doing.
Great idea, Hal. Let's go back to the lake. Come on.
Onward and Steveward!
You guys, the lake has more water. It worked.
Look what the rainstorm blew in. Steve's back, baby! Follow me! Woohoo!
Wow, so cool, Steve. Just like mine.
Yep. Now I can store rainwater just like you, Daisy.
Oh, Steve, what a smart idea.
Why, thank you very much.
Yeah. We can't just think water's gonna always be around for us. We gotta save it now. Now, I say.
Right you are, Squeaks. This, my friends, is cause for celebration. I, Nature Cat, henceforth proclaim every day of the year Saving Water Day.
Hooray!
Nature Cat, Squeaks, Daisy, and Hal are cartoon characters and not real animals. To keep all of our animal friends safe, check with a grown-up before you bring a pet on your next nature adventure. Aha! Nature Cat is brought to you today by Sticks. Yes, sticks. Bend them, stack them, rake them, build a fence with them, a house, a skyscraper. Make a stick man, stick woman, stick kid, stick dog. Make music with them. Play a game with them. So pick up some sticks today. Sticks by Nature.
What's more important than playing outside with your best pals?
How about a full week of playing outside?
Go outside. Get yourself outside.
On PBS Kids Explore the Outdoors with Splash and Bubbles.
Best day ever!
Wild Kratts.
Awesome! Yeah.
You can't catch me!
And Nature Cat. Explore the Outdoors with PBS Kids. All new episodes all week long.
Nature will put a smile on your face.
Get ready for something really odd on PBS Kids. Strange things happen nearly every day. And Odd Squad is on the case. Weekdays on PBS Kids. And watch anytime on the PBS Kids app.
Funding for Nature Cat is provided by the Van Ekron family, founders of Lando Frost, supporting over 12,000 youth sports teams across the country. And by the Hamill Family Foundation, the Siegel Family Foundation, Polk Brothers Foundation, Bobolink Foundation, Sage Foundation. Nature Cat is made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Nature Cat knows it's important to take care of and protect things in nature because we all share the same space. Imagine if we were all hanging out inside your home and everyone left without cleaning up. Gross! That's why it's important to throw your trash away when you're outside, where animals live. Nature will thank you for it. Find more ways you can take care of nature with Nature Cat anytime on the PBS Kids video app. But stick around, there's more fun up next on PBS Kids.
Thanks for watching 11 Kids.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the Utah BYU baseball game. Live, coming up next. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
They live along the South African coastline, and their habitat next to humans puts these African penguins in harm's way.
We've run out of space, basically.
But a team of specialists is dedicated to helping them survive.
Doing absolutely everything in our power to save that bird.
It's the Uplifting series about the efforts to rescue this extraordinary species, Penguin Hospital.
Kindness. Thank you. Pass it on.
Rivalry night has arrived in Provo, Utah at Larry H. Miller Field. The BYU Cougars have lost 3 of their last 4 games and are looking to flip the script. What better way to do so then take an opportunity to beat your arch nemesis, Utah. The Utes have lost 6 straight. They've split the season series. Game 3 between the Utes and Cougars goes next on BYU TV. NCAA baseball live on BYU TV and KBYU. The Utah Utes and BYU Cougars meeting up for Game 3 of 4 in the 2018 season. Utah with a record of 9-28. BYU 2 games over 500 at 18-16. Alongside Gary Scheide, I'm Spencer Linton. Wherever and however you're connected, great to have you with us. These teams, in their own respective rights, are both looking to turn things around. BYU dealing with some adversity, losing 3 of the last 4. Utah trying to snap a 6-game losing streak. This rivalry game comes at a very critical juncture as they try and make a push for something positive in their conference races.
Well, both of these teams have strayed a little bit from the course they'd hoped to be on. But in the words of Invictus, the poem, quote, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." And tonight, there'll be a little soul-searching with a rivalry between BYU and Utah. The winner can take that momentum and carry it on into the season.
Spoken like a true coach. With a poem from Invictus, no less. Utah hoping that they get some inspiration from Deshaun Kiersey Jr., who has been outstanding, and that's probably an understatement when you look at his numbers and what he has meant to this Utah baseball team.
Absolutely. He leads the team with a .373 average. Is in the top 2 on the team in home runs and runs batted in, and has an impressive team-leading 15 doubles. He was 2 for 4 the last time they played BYU, and he has had a hit in 22 of Utah's last 23 games.
The BYU Cougars are searching for consistency. They've had it in the field defensively. Brennan Anderson has certainly played a large role in that. But Mike Littlewood wants it with the bat in the hands of the Cougars, and Anderson is a guy that can help jumpstart the Cougars.
He can, and he went 2 for 4 in the last game against Arizona, drove in his team's only run. On the season, he's in the top 2 for runs scored, hits, doubles, and runs batted in. He's been a .300 hitter ever since he arrived and has raised his average to over .300 with his hot bat recently.
While both of these teams are trying to turn things around, BYU has had some extra time off, and they're hoping that that translates into good things tonight on their home field. For more on that, we join the third member of our broadcast team, Jason Shepard.
That's right, Spencer. BYU has not played a game in 7 days, and when you have that much time off, you always ask yourself, well, is it good to have that much time off or not? And I asked head coach Mike Littlewood that, and he said absolutely it's been good. This team needed a break physically, but maybe more importantly, mentally. On top of that, they've handled the week off great practices heading into this week. Now, there are 4 remaining conference series before the end of the regular season. Head coach Mike Littlewood says it's time for this team to go on a run, and he believes if they can win every series, all 4 remaining conference series, they'll be in good shape. Spencer?
Thank you, Jason. The rest versus rust conversation once again back on topic. The starting lineup for the Utah Utes offensively tonight will go with the aforementioned Deshaun Kiersey Jr. leading things off and playing in center field. He'll be followed by Chandler Anderson. Oliver Dunn batting third. Riker Tom is a name and a guy to watch out for in that cleanup spot, playing at third base. Eric Migueles, the designated hitter. Braden DeBenedictis, the first baseman, batting 6. Dominic Foscalina in right field at 7. Richardson and Kramer, the 8-9 batters. In the field for the BYU Cougars, Bo Burrup will get the start on the mound. 6.84 earned run average. He is 2-1 as the pitcher of record. 25 innings of work, 16 strikeouts, 14 walks for number 42. Behind him at first base, Brian Sue, Brennan Anderson at second, Daniel Schneeman, the usual shortstop starter, Nate Favero at third. And Bo Burrup will be throwing to D.C. Clausen in the outfield from left to right. At Kringlen, they'll go with Jarrett Perns in center field and Brock Hale in right. Our keys to the game brought to you by Tim Daly Ford of Spanish Fork. Tim Daly Auto Group serving Utah since 1968. This Utah team is very capable, Gary. They beat Oregon State 2 out of 3, who was then ranked in the top 2 in the country. So what do they need to do tonight on the road to get a win against BYU?
Well, first of all, they need to get a lead. In the first 2 games against BYU, the Cougars led early, and the Utes had the battle back from behind, and 7-9 production. In the recent ASU series, the last 3 hitters in the lineup combined for only 5 hits in 30 at-bats. And for BYU, they need to square it up. Typically, BYU has a team average of over 300, but this year they're just at 265, and they need to start a streak. With 12 conference games left, BYU needs to gather momentum for the stretch run.
Bo Burrup facing Deshaun Kiersey Jr. First pitch, outside, ball 1. BYU won the first matchup in extra innings, 7-6 on this field in late March. Utah returned the favor in Salt Lake City. Another one-run game, 4-3 advantage Utes. And here we are, game 3 on KBYU, streaming on youtube.com/BYU TV Sports. Kiersey Jr. goes opposite field, right into the glove of Keaton Kringlen. 1 out, as Kringlen has the put out in left field.
In the first game of this series here at BYU, Kiersey did not play in that game. But you can see, you know, he's hit 22 of the last 23 games. He sprays the ball to all parts of the field. He hit that one hard, but right at Keaton Kringlen and left.
1 down for Bo Burrup, tonight's starting pitcher for BYU. It is a pitch by committee approach from Mike Littlewood. We'll see how long Burrup goes. Typically, this is a 2-inning, if he's got his stuff really going, maybe 3-inning situation. But it is a juggling match for sure from a pitching standpoint for the Cougars. Burrup delivers the 1-0 pitch, now outside ball 2 to Chandler Anderson.
Well, the first 2 times these guys played each other, Burrup started, went 3 innings, gave up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. And the opposing pitcher for Utah was Jacob Rebar. He's starting again tonight. And he went 1 1/3 innings and gave up 4 earned runs. So the same starting pitchers that started this series back in March 20th.
Burrup comes back with a fastball in at 86 miles an hour for strike 1. 2-1, 1 out, bases empty here in the top of the first for Chandler Anderson of Utah. Anderson on the ground. That gets past Schneemann, who, had he come up with the ball, would have had to make a near impossible play to get the speedy Anderson at first, and that'll go for an infield single on the first hit of the game.
Yeah, you're right. If even if Schneemann comes up with that ball as deep as it was in the hole, he would not have had a chance to throw Anderson out there. What he tried to do a little slide stop there so he could come up throwing, but the ball just got under his glove for a clean base hit. And over there at first, Anderson 5 for 5 on the year in stolen bases.
1 down and a man on first. Anderson after his hit through the hole, and that one is pulled through the opposite hole between first and second base. Back-to-back hits from Utah, that from Oliver Dunn, and the Utes in business here in the top of the first.
Well, that time Bo tried to come on the inside part of the plate there, and Oliver Dunn just turned on it. Just poked it right between the 4-3 gap there at second base, and with a strong arm of Hale out there in right, there was not going to be a chance for Anderson to try to attempt to go from first to third. It was just hit too hard.
Anderson on second now after being hit over safely by Oliver Dunn. And the Utes, with their first runner in scoring position, will turn to Riker Tom, who starts at third base and is batting in the cleanup position. Riker Tom coming off a series against Arizona State. He batted .385, 5 of 13, drove in 3 runs, so he is no stranger to a situation that he is seeing right here. Tom ahead of that pitch from Burrup and on the ground into foul territory down the third base line.
In the first game against BYU, Riker Tom had a good game. He went 2 for 4 with 3 runs batted in, and the second game he was 1 for 5. So he's had a hit in both of those games and 3 runs batted in the 7-6 loss in that first game.
Riker Tom initially committed to one of BYU's West Coast Conference foes, San Diego. He transferred, redshirted, before beginning his Utah baseball career as a freshman, and has now solidified himself in Bill Kinneberg's lineup. Two balls, 1 strike, 2 men on. Bo Burrup of BYU getting the starting nod tonight from his coach Mike Littlewood, and goes with the pickoff move. Dunn slides back safely to first. And now they're going to say that Burrup balked and made a move towards home before he threw over to first base. So both of the Utes will advance bases.
Boy, I tell you, look at that replay, and that was not It was very hard to tell if that was a balk, if it was. I think maybe the umpires might have got a little fooled on that, but he stepped over towards first base, was not committed to go home. I think Coach Littlewood's asking him to ask another umpire just to make sure, because that looked like a good pitch and a good throw. Watch this. Does the right foot come towards home plate? Not really. That's how you teach it.
If anything, very nitpicky that goes advantage Utah. And the Utes will benefit by placing Chandler Anderson on third base and Dunn over to second. So with one down, Burrup now in a jam against Riker Tom at 2 balls and 1 strike. Hit back up the middle. Anderson bobbles initially, has a play at first. If he can get it in time, he does. But that'll drive in the first run of the game for Utah. Riker Tom puts it in play, does his job, scores Chandler Anderson, and the Utes, Gary Scheide, have taken an early lead, which you put as one of the keys to the game here in Provo.
Absolutely. And watch this play by Burrup. He gets a glove on it. Just briefly gets a little piece of that to knock it down to where Anderson has a play at it. And if there's without that balk, that might have been a double play ball. But with runners at second and third, Anderson does the right thing, knocks it down and gets the out at first.
2 down for Burrup now. Oliver Dunn at third. Utah leading 1-0. The batter now is the designated hitter for Utah, Eric Migueles. Burrup goes outside 2-0.
Well, if you look at the infield shift for BYU, you've got Brendan Anderson about 10 feet off of the infield, what would be the infield dirt right there. See him, that's Schneemann on the right field side of second base. So thinking McGillis is going to pull the ball here.
That one fouled off the end of the bat by Migueles.
Eric had a really key hit in that second game. He had a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 4th inning to put the Utes ahead 3-1, and they ended up winning 4-3. So he's got power.
Burrup misses high. The count now 3-1. 2 down, runner on third base, and Utah already with 1 runner across. Burrup comes back with a curveball missing high and inside, and a walk is issued to Eric Migueles, bringing up Braden DeBenedictis. 17 pitches thrown by Bo Burrup here in the top of the first. And BYU getting things ready in their bullpen. Not a surprise, because this is very largely a scripted pitching approach from Mike Littlewood and BYU. DeBenedictis takes ball 1 from Burrup.
DeBenedictis is a redshirt freshman from Taylorsville High School in Taylorsville, Utah. A 4-year varsity player there.
That one fouled back into the screen to make it 1 ball and 1 strike.
First game against BYU, DeBenedictis was 0 for 2, had a walk. And the second game, he was 1 for 3.
Playing in his 21st game for Utah. The 1-1 is low for ball 2.
Came into the game with a .304 batting average, 56 at bats, has 17 hits, 1 double, 1 triple, 4 runs batted in.
Making his 9th start at first base tonight, has also seen significant action in that designated hitter role, and the count now 3-1. Bo Burrup is a ball away from loading the bases here in the top of the first against Utah, already trailing 1-0. If you're just joining us, Burrup was called for a balk with 1 out, allowing the Utah runners to advance to second and third, and a run was driven in. And there is a second consecutive walk from Burrup. The bases are indeed loaded. Setting the stage for the Utah right fielder Dominic Foscolina.
BYU does have bullpen action. Out in the bullpen is number 41 for BYU. That is Kendall Moat. He's a right-handed pitcher. Have a right-handed batter here for Utah. We'll see. Coach Littlewood lets Burrup try to work his way out of this inning, and it looks like he will.
Foscolina sat out a significant amount of time, especially in Pac-12 play, after being hit in the head. Understandably frightening situation, but returned against Arizona State, so the Utes glad to have him back in the lineup and looking for him to get something done here with a bases loaded situation with 2 outs in the top of the first. The 1-1. Hit foul, rolling down the third base line, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
Foscolina is a sophomore, 6 foot, 170 pounder out of Livermore High School in Livermore, California. Played in 32 games with 23 starts last year.
One and 2, bases full of Utes, and that's outside. Clausen collects and gets it back to Burrup now. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Both games this season have been determined by 1 run. BYU winning game 1 7-6, Utah 4-3 in the second. And that is inside to make it a full count. And things continue to get more and more interesting for BYU starter Bo Burrup.
Well, that time you saw Bo Burrup start heading to the dugout. He thought that ball kind of clipped the inside part of the plate there.
The 28th pitch of the inning for Burrup on the way, and that is grounded up the middle. Schneemann has a play at first and will make the throw over to Sue. So despite all of that, Utah manages just 1 run. They'll take the early lead, and BYU coming back with Anderson, Schneemann, and Creelan.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
A forgotten chapter of the Holocaust.
They were systematically exterminating people.
A great center of culture destroyed.
One of the most important cities in Jewish history.
About 70,000 Jews murdered by the Nazis. But how did 12 escape to reveal the truth?
We're picking up 2 hot spots.
There is something there.
A scientific quest to find the Holocaust escape tunnel on Nova.
The Utes strike first in the top of the first. 1-0 lead over BYU. Game 3 of 4 between these longtime rivals, going down at Larry H. Miller Field in Provo, Utah. The batting lineup for head coach Mike Littlewood and the Cougars looks like this. The leadoff man, Brennan Anderson, one of our impact performers. He'll be followed by Daniel Schneemann, Keaton Creelan, and Brock Hale in his usual cleanup spot. Nate Favero batting 5th, playing 3rd. Brian Sue, David Clausen, and Kyle Dean in the 6, 7, 8 spots. Jarrett Perns will round things out, batting 9th and playing in center field. Defensively for the Utah Utes, starting pitcher tonight is Jacob Rebar, the left-hander wearing number 33. He'll be throwing to his catcher, Shea Kramer. At first base, DeBenedictis. Oliver Dunn at second. Richardson, the shortstop. Riker Tom getting the start at 3rd. Chandler Anderson is your left fielder. Kiersey Jr., the speedster, in center field. And Foscolina handling the duties in right. Utah trying to snap a 6-game losing skid. All of those games Pac-12 play, being swept by 9th-ranked UCLA, and then losing a tough series at Arizona State. After this Tuesday game against BYU, the Utes will host Pac-12 foe Arizona in Salt Lake City for a weekend series. BYU will turn their attention to a 3-game set with San Diego. Anderson takes ball 1 low from Rebar.
One thing in the first game that BYU batters did against Jacob Rebar is they are first pitch hitting. Rebar was throwing a fastball in the first pitch to try to get ahead in the count, and BYU was hitting that first pitch, and they really hit some really good hard hit balls on that first pitch. And you can see already Rebar is trying to keep that first pitch out of the zone a little bit. And you notice he doesn't have the long hair anymore. Man, I tell you, Jacob, I like that long hair that you had there, but you still look good.
Rebar taking on Brennan Anderson, first batter for BYU. The Cougars trailing 1-0. Anderson, well hit center field, chasing Kiersey back towards the warning track, who leaps up and makes the catch with the reach for a long out, number 1 in the bottom of the first.
And that ball kind of fooled Kiersey just a little bit there. Kiersey Jr., look at this. Anderson just has a lot of pop in that bat, and it doesn't look like it's going that far to start out with, but the deepest part of the park, you can see, is 402 feet. Kiersey gets back, jumps at the warning track there, and makes the catch. So that ball just kept carrying. The wind is kind of blowing out tonight, Spencer, from home towards center field.
Anderson retired on that long fly ball to center field. Schneemann is the batter now for BYU. Showed bunt for a moment, pulling back and taking strike 1. Daniel Schneemann, a veteran player for BYU, the junior out of Chula Vista, California, has not found his groove offensively this season, batting .231 and goes down 0-2 in the count.
First game against Utah, Schneemann was 0 for 4, did score a run with a walk. And the second game, he was hitless at 0 for 3, so 0 for 7 in the series so far against Utah.
You just saw Rebar's season numbers, 5.54 earned run average. That one well outside for ball 1 on an 0-2 count.
But the interesting thing, one of the interesting things about Rebar, he has not given up a home run this season.
Schneemann awaits the 1-2. Again outside, count now even at 2-2. Rebar looking for strikeout number 19 on the season against Daniel Schneemann. Two and Schneemann patiently holds off, has worked the count now to 3 balls and 2 strikes. Base is empty with 1 down in the bottom of the first. BYU searching for their first base runner. Daniel Schneemann will become that man as he draws a walk. So down 0-2, Rebar comes back with 4 consecutive balls and allows Schneemann a free base.
That was a good job of hitting that time by Daniel Schneemann. There were several pitches that were not that far out of the zone, and you could see that Rebar were just kind of nipping at the corners a little bit. It's real good pitches, but Schneemann held off and worked the count into a walk.
The batter now, Keaton Kringland for BYU, with Schneemann on first, and Rebar tries to get Kringland to chase the fastball outside. He won't. Ball 1.
Over at first base, Schneemann 5 for 5 on the year in stolen bases. That first pitch, you try to get an idea what the pitcher's motion is. And oftentimes, once you figure that out after a few, there you can see him just kind of shuffling down. But once you figure that out after a few, then you got a better idea and know when to start your lead towards second.
Mike Littlewood letting the umpiring crew hear about that balk that was called against the Cougars in the top of the first, saying that was the same move that I saw made from Bo Burrup. Kringland goes to center field. Kiersey Jr. all over that, closes his mid on another fly ball for out number 2. Kringland retired, and that will bring up Brock Hale with Schneemann on first and 2 down. what it's worth, Rebar didn't balk. He made a good pickoff attempt, which I thought Bo Burrup did as well, but baseball is one of the most subjective sports that are on the planet. And let's get some more insight as to what Mike Littlewood was thinking on that balk call from Jason Shepard.
Coach Littlewood's biggest argument was when the third base umpire said that Burrup had gone towards the plate first. He said there's no possible way that a body can contort and throw over to first base if you've made a play towards home. He says it just doesn't work like that. So he said that play has not been called all year long and vehemently disagreed that it was a balk.
All right, Shep, thanks for the clarification on that. It allowed Utah to put runners at second and third and took away a double play ball. In the meantime, Brock Hale is hit by a pitch from Rebar, and now BYU has a runner in scoring position with 2 down in the bottom of the first, trying to even things up at 1 run apiece. Nate Favero, the man charged with driving in a run for BYU here. Lefty on lefty, Rebar. High ball 1 to Favero. And that'll prompt a conversation at the mound with the catcher Shea Kramer and his starter Jacob Rebar. Our scorebox sponsor tonight, Brady Industries, a provider of commercial cleaning supplies and equipment. There's a look inside the Utah dugout at head coach Bill Kinneberg. This Utah team got things rolling in late March. They won 7 of 11 between March 24th and April 10th, including the series win over one of the best teams in the country, Oregon State, but have since dropped 6 in a row and hoping to switch things up here in Provo. That gets underneath the glove at second base, which will tie the game at 1. Daniel Schneemann touches home plate. Nate Favero credited with the RBI, and we're tied up at 1 apiece.
Well, that's a play that Oliver Dunn has to make for his pitcher. You got to get that glove down, and he makes that. It's an easy out at first base, and you can see, watch the glove right here. Ball's put into play, up the middle, looks like a base hit, but Dunn's there, and he doesn't get the glove down. It goes underneath it, and the run scores easily, first and third now for BYU, and that'll be an unearned run for the Cougars.
Oliver Dunn, shorthanded second baseman. Now it's worth noting that the way that the sun hits this time of night in Provo, perhaps that comes into play as he's trying to make that play on a hop. BYU will take it and tie this thing up at 1 apiece.
Well, you're going to get true hops on this artificial turf. And if you're not used to it, and you know, Oliver Dunn played here the first time, but he doesn't play here every day, so you're not really sure how that hop's coming up if you're not used to it. And that time, the main thing, though, he just didn't get his glove down. He'll tell you that. He should have got his glove down.
The only player to see the field in every game this year for Utah, Oliver Dunn. That's hit on a line to right field by Brian Sue, and all 3 outs. Courtesy of the fly ball fashion off the bats of BYU. The Cougars do tie it up 1 apiece with 1 hit, but they strand 2. Coming back with the top of the second right after this.
What does your insurance actually do when it's not doing insurance? What if you could get help with more often? And you could also plan amazing trips. Save on event tickets or hotel rooms. Even get rescued roadside. You can when you're a member and your insurance is AAA. Insurance that's not just insurance.
The Ganges, a river central to life in India. Host Sue Perkins explores this waterway.
I don't know what I expect.
She discovers the incredible places.
Utterly beautiful.
And people.
That makes me love you even more.
Along this sacred river.
Politeness has no place on this bridge.
The challenges.
I don't even know what that smell is.
And splendor.
One of the most spiritual sights in the entire world.
Of the Ganges.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you by Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Brady Industries, honestly better. and by AAA. Learn more at AAA.com.
A 1-1 game through one inning of play between Utah and BYU. We welcome you back to our BYU TV sports coverage on KBYU tonight. Also streaming courtesy of BYU TV Sports. Beautiful evening for college baseball, and both of these teams looking to take a one-game advantage in a series of 4 games over this season, non-conference play. BYU just tied the game up thanks to a 2-out single up the middle by Nate Favero driving in Daniel Schneemann. The Cougars have recorded that 1 run on 1 hit, taking advantage of being hit by a pitch if you're Brock Hale and a 1-out walk that Daniel Schneemann drew. But the Utes come back to work here in the top of the second with the 8, 9, and 1 hitters. Leading things off is Matt Richardson. Bo Burrup only goes 1 inning for BYU. He threw 28 pitches. And Kendall Moats is now the man on the mound to start off the top of the second. See Moats' numbers, 9 2/3 innings of work this season, 6 strikeouts, 11 walks. Moats is a guy that the BYU coaching staff has high hopes for. He was slated to be a starter last year, has now kind of nestled his way into a middle innings reliever position. And we'll see where his career develops from here. But the hopes are that he can do something major for this program at some point.
Absolutely. And there you can see he and catcher David Clausen trying to get on the same page on the signals. And you got Matt Richardson up there. Matt, the first time that Utah played BYU, when they lost 7-6, Richardson was batting in the 2 spot, went 2 for 5. The second time they played, he was batting in the 9 spot, and tonight he's batting in the 8 spot. So he moves all over the lineup, has that flexibility to hit wherever you put him, and came into the game batting 273.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Matt Richardson. Moats delivers. That one hits in front of the plate. And takes the count to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kendall Moats, if you remember, Gary, is the guy that put together the quality start in BYU's West Coast Conference Tournament clinching victory over Gonzaga, 16-3. Moats gives up the fly ball to Richardson, and that is secured by Hale in right field. 1 down here in the top of the second.
Well, this is good. It gives them a chance to get a little work here against a good team and get ready for the conference. You know, BYU has 4 more teams that they'll play in the conference, so 12 more games. And every game is just critical from here on out. And they're going to need all the relievers and all the pitchers they can get to get through this season and have a shot at making the tournament.
Shea Kramer, the catcher, swinging at the first pitch he sees from Moats. High pop fly. Brennan Anderson floats back into shallow right field to make the catch, and there are 2 quick outs here in the top of the second for Moats.
You can see these players looking into the sun. You'll also see the reflection of the shade on Anderson's with Cap right there, and out in left field. That's the tough position this time of night. You can see the sun just directly coming at the left fielder, and they've got the sunglasses on. They've got the mitt hanging up there. Very difficult to pick up a ball where the shade you can see at the pitcher's mound is just in front of the pitcher's mound. So tough to pick it up as a hitter, and left field, tough to pick it up when it's hit that way. And there's the sunglasses for Kringland. It's tough field out there at this time of night.
Back to the top of the order for Utah. Kiersey Jr. on the ground into foul territory down the first base line. 1 ball and 1 strike. Moats facing a guy who ranks in the top 10 in multiple categories in the Pac-12. Doubles, hits per game. He's 4th in batting average in the conference at 373, and he's 9th in the entire NCAA in doubles per game, averaging essentially half a game. So this guy sees extra bases on a regular basis, and he fights off that pitch, strike 2.
And he's really a catalyst, you know, here in that number 1 position there. Got really good speed, He's at a Helix High School there in San Diego. Just a junior, 6'2", 195 pounds. And last time, didn't play in the first game against BYU, but the last game he was 2 for 4. So he just really adds an element of leadership and tough out for Utah.
The 1-2 from Moats. Inside and low, ball 2. Popped up once again. That'll send Favero back. Called off by Schneemann, and he makes the catch in shallow left field. Short, successful inning for Kendall Moats, 1-2-3 fashion, and we'll go to the bottom of the second tied at 1 run apiece.
What we're doing, we could get hanged. I've had the police in here asking for you.
The case is being investigated by a man called Detective Chief Superintendent Foyle.
Detective Chief Superintendent Foyle, no less.
What did he want?
He didn't tell me.
I'm telling you, he's dangerous.
Good versus evil, Arthur. That's what it boils down to. Nothing difficult about that.
Next time on Father Brown.
My husband's murderer decided to confess.
An evil killer Father Brown put behind bars is free.
Knowing Catherine Corvin, she will want to torment me.
And he isn't buying her new calling.
God is watching you.
I pray for it.
But after a suspicious death,
She hanged herself.
Father Brown is certain she's the culprit.
Tell the truth!
And more lives will be lost if he's wrong.
Bothers me.
Father Brown.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you by Emergency Essentials, 30 years of helping people prepare. The BYU Store, the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Deseret First Credit Union, sharing your values. And by DexterLaw.com for help when you need it most.
Bottom of the second inning, non-conference baseball, the NCAA version between Utah and BYU, game 3 out of 4 in this long-standing rivalry. Both games determined by 1 run in the previous 2 matchups, and right now we have a tie game at 1 run apiece. DC Clausen to lead things off for BYU, batting 7th for the Cougars tonight, and facing the starter for Utah, Jacob Rebar.
BYU has had great production from the catcher position in the first 2 games against Utah. The first game, you saw Clausen started. He was 2 for 3, scored a run and walked. And then the second game had a different catcher. That was Noah Hill. He went 3 for 4, scored 2 runs. So from the catcher position, they've been very productive.
Clausen with that .242 average. Has been challenged by his coaches in a number of different ways this season because they expect a lot from him.
Well, he was drafted in the 34th round in 2016 Major League Draft by the New York Yankees. But he had 3rd round offers from them, and the Braves and the Brewers and the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. So he was very, very heavily recruited, and he decided to come here to BYU and develop his talents.
And Clausen goes down staring at a pitch from Rebar. As that curveball bent in wickedly at the end. And Rebar has his first K.
You take a look at this location. Just right on that outside part of the plate. A really good pitch that time by Jacob Rebar.
Well, and Clausen knew it immediately. 1 out in the bottom of the second, base is empty for BYU. Kyle Dean is the batter. And another young man that came to BYU with sky-high expectations after an incredible high school career. Under Armour All-American, played on the junior team with Team USA. and has dealt with a rash of injuries. Just trying to find his natural groove once again. Batting .200 on the season. He is a power hitter and still searching for his first home run. He opened things up at BYU with an incredible bang, pun intended. Had 3 home runs in a game in the opening series against Kansas back in 2016.
I remember watching that game. It was on TV, and my word, it was just like, you know, who is this guy? We knew how good he was when he was recruited here, but just tremendous talent. Hasn't developed to where he thought he would be at this point in time, but I just think over time he's still going to get it back.
And there is Dean ripping a single into left field past Riker Tom at third base, and the Cougars have their second hit of the game, courtesy of Kyle Dean.
Yeah, he had to sit out a lot of last season because of back injury. Anytime you hurt your back at a young age like Kyle, you know, it's just one of those things where you just got to overcome it and get strength back.
When you bring the back into play, I don't care what sport it is, it's going to make a significant impact on what you do, and it can really fool with your confidence. And confidence is the key word for BYU this year, not just for Kyle Dean, but really the entire offense. Mike Littlewood told us on BYU Sports Nation this morning that his guys just aren't going up consistently with confidence. And Jarrett Perns perhaps is a guy that has, I guess, presented Mike Littlewood with something that goes against that. He has been the consistent, confident hitter at number 9 and has solidified himself in BYU's lineup. For more on Kyle Dean, who's at first base after that one-out single, we go to Jason Shepard.
This is an appropriate story to be talking about during a BYU-Utah baseball game, because Kyle Dean told me one time that one of his bucket list items is to get a picture with Kyle Whittingham, the head football coach at the University of Utah. And you may be asking why. Well, actually, Kyle, in a roundabout way, is named after Kyle Whittingham. When Kyle's dad was going to BYU in the 80s, he liked to go to football games, and there was a BYU linebacker named Kyle Whittingham that he was quite impressed with. So when they had their son, they said, hey, I like that name, Kyle. So Kyle Dean has always wanted to get a picture with Kyle Whittingham because that's who he's named after, Spencer.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Jason, because we can probably make that happen now. Dean slides back to first, Rebar checking him back to the base. Certainly there's a connection out there watching the game tonight that can bring those two Kyles together for a picture. In our day and age, it's all about the selfie, right?
Absolutely. You know, and I go back to Kyle Whittingham's dad, Fred Whittingham. He was coaching at BYU when I was there, and he's arguably the best coach I've ever seen. So I really like Fred Whittingham, and you know, I like Kyle Whittingham, but you know, I you know, then I got to correct myself. I like BYU a little bit better.
Well, in your mind, he's always a BYU Cougar, right? Because he started at BYU, played at BYU.
Yes, he is.
Ball and 2 strikes, Jarrett Perns, outside ball 2. And Rebar keeping an eye on Dean at first. Trying to handle his business against Perns, the junior transfer from the College of Southern Nevada, who leads BYU in batting average at .344. Rebar again over to first to hold Dean at bay and remind him that he is aware. And Rebar again over to DeBenedictis at first.
Well, you go back to Kyle Dean. If his back wasn't bothering him, once he gets it fully healed, he was the Western Region champion in the long jump and on the 4x100 and the 4x400 relay team in high school. So a very fast, gifted athlete.
2-2 delivered, swung on and missed, and Rebar has his second strikeout of the inning, that one against Jarrett Perns.
And again, you look at that location by Rebar, very good pitch, right on the outside part of the plate. Look at that frame job, nice job by Kramer, but a perfect location. About 90 miles an hour on the speed gun there.
14th appearance of the season for Jacob Rebar, and he's making this second inning against BYU in Provo a memorable one with a couple of strikeouts. Back to the top of the order for BYU, Brennan Anderson flew out to deep center field in his first at-bat.
Yeah, Brennan didn't miss that by much. just got under it a bit. He's got 3 home runs on the season, and that one sent Kersey all the way back to the 400-foot sign at the fence at the base of the wall in center field.
The 1-0, and Rebar goes to first again. Throw is low, but handled by DeBenedictis. And these are the types of situations that kind of bother baseball fans sometimes. But when you have one of the best pickoff moves in the Pac-12, you got to utilize it.
Well, I kind of love it. I go back to the days when the Giants are playing the Dodgers, and the Dodgers had Maury Wills, and he had over 100 stolen bases in a year, and there'd be so many throws over to first base, and he'd keep dusting himself off, and he'd still go. It just, I don't know, it's a fun part of the game. I kind of like that.
Rebar second in the Pac-12 with 3 pickoffs in limited time. That tells you just how good his move is. 1 ball and 1 strike, this time coming home, and delivers a strike on the outside part of the plate to Anderson.
Well, this is the time you might send Dean, because you had Anderson, the leadoff hitter here. Even if he was to strike out or something like that, he'd be the leadoff hitter next inning. So he's behind in the count here. This might be an opportunity if Dean's feeling well enough to take off.
One ball, 2 strikes, 2 down. Kyle Dean on first base. Tied at 1 in the bottom of the second. Anderson on the ground. 3 hops to Oliver Dunn. Over to DeBenedictis at first. And Rebar puts together a solid second inning as the starting pitcher. We remain tied at 1. The Utes coming back with Anderson, Dunn, and Tom. They're 2, 3, 4 hitters.
The BYU Sports Nation guys check out the BYU store. Hey, before you hit someone with that football, take a look around at all the great BYU gear from Nike. Hoodies, exercise wear, sweaters, t-shirts, all the stuff an active sportscaster needs. Spencer, that one is actually for your better half. No, not Jerem, your wife. The BYU store, keeping Jerem and Spencer looking great, and proud to sponsor BYU Sports Nation on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
Next time on Hinterland.
The victim's name is Owen Bainon, lawyer.
A wealthy man is killed in his home.
What was taken from the house?
A pair of antique shotguns.
Matthias thinks the guns may hold the key.
Lovely looking things. Expensive too.
But when a suspect is investigated, a body is found.
I warn you about that boy.
And a local mob wants justice.
You need to get your facts straight before you do something you might regret.
Hinterland.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you in part by Reinhardt Oil.
Look at these pictures. A man headed to Cooperstown in the Baseball Hall of Fame, Jack Morris, who pitched at BYU, spoke to the BYU Cougars and their first pitch dinner a few years back. Really emotional thing for Jack. Played 2 years for the Cougars from 75 to 76. Gary, did you have a chance to watch this guy play baseball?
Yeah, you know, I did. I'd heard about him. So, you know, I mean, in 1975, he was 6-3. He was a 5th-round draft choice after 76 when he went 4-6. So not really impressive numbers, but you can just see, man, he had movement on the ball. He had a lot of speed. He had junk, and you saw him in the major leagues. He just survived for so many years, took teams to championships, won World Series, and he's one of the best pitchers to ever play this game.
No hitter in 1983, 3-time World Series champion. I think most memorably with the Minnesota Twins in 1991 for the role he played in that series. Leading off the top of the 3rd inning with a double down the left field line is Chandler Anderson, and Utah with a runner in scoring position as Kendall Moats remains in the game after a 1-2-3 second inning.
You can see it just inside the left field line there. Favero makes an attempt at it, but a really good line shot down the line and a leadoff double here. Utah's in business.
Moats out of the stretch to Oliver Dunn. Bunt is laid down. Clausen, wild throw to first, backed up by Anderson. That prevents Chandler Anderson from coming home to score from third. So heads up safety play by Brennan Anderson to back up the throw, but both runners are safe on the corners with no outs here in the top of the third.
Yeah, a really nice bunt. That time just right in front of the plate where Clausen had to go out a little bit for it. And with the speed, sometimes you try to hurry your throw up a little bit, and Clausen just kind of fell off it a little bit and threw it up the line. But fortunately for BYU, Anderson was there backing it up.
Initially, it looked like Moats was going to approach that ball and take it, and then he kind of was called off at the last minute, giving Clausen the right to make the play, but it results in an infield bunt single, and runners on the corners now for the Utes. Riker Tom, the cleanup batter for Bill Kinneberg's squad tonight, with a golden opportunity to give the Utes the lead.
He's taking a long look down there at third base coach, and that's Jay Brossman, who gets the signal from Bill Kinneberg in the dugout.
Tom fooled by Moats on that pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Look at the BYU fielders. They're playing back. Double play depth. Corners are up, but willing to give a run if it's a ground ball to second or short.
Outside corner fastball from Moats to get ahead in the count at 1-2. Riker Tom entered this game with the second best batting average on this Utah squad at .297. Also second on the team with 43 hits. He is responsible for the lone RBI thus tonight, and he's going to add to that total. Tom in there with an RBI single through the gap at second and first, and runners back on the corners. Utah takes a 2-1 lead. How about Riker Tom already with 2 runs batted in?
Yeah, the first one was a ground ball to second base in the first inning, and that got the run batted in. This time he shot the 4-3 gap, and for another run batted in. There's still no outs here in the top of the third for Utah, first and third.
Miguel is back for his second plate appearance. Takes strike 1 from Moats, who to this point has been very good with runners on base. Batters against him with runners on base at just a .071 batting average. Check swing. Migueles holds off 1-1. Number 5 batter for Utah drew a walk in his first plate appearance. He'll take strike 2 from Moats right down the pipe. A 3rd inning jam for the second pitcher in this BYU roster tonight, Kendall Moats. Just misses right there. Take the count to 2-2.
And you can see Moats is trying to work that outside corner with his fastball against McGillis. He does not want to let him pull it.
That ball is hit into play. Moats, low throw to first. Sue trying to scoop it. And a rough inning gets worse for BYU and their pitcher Kendall Moats. Hurried the throw a bit. Sue tried to make that play, could not do so, and everybody is safe. Bases loaded, no outs. Utah up 2-1.
Well, that time you can see that Kendall Moats never got a good grip on the ball. That ball was really spinning when he pounded into the ball like that. Came up, picked it up, and never got a good grip on the ball, and then just threw it into the dirt.
The Utes now with 6 hits. And Mike Littlewood having a conversation with the entire BYU infield and his pitcher Moats.
We've got a lefty warming up in the bullpen for BYU. That's number 8, Rhett Parkinson.
Brayden DeBenedictis, the batter in the box now for Utah, with his teammates Oliver Dunn on third, Riker Tom on second, and Migueles at first. First error of the game registered to Moats and BYU after the throw over to first was low and Sue couldn't handle it.
When you look up at the scoreboard, they still have not entered that as an error. They've given him a hit. We'll have to check on that.
Outside corner for strike one to DeBenedictis. That ball hit foul down into the left field corner area towards the BYU bullpen. Strike two.
Yeah, we're thinking up here it's definitely an error, no question, but it's not listed on the scoreboard yet.
It just went up.
Just went up.
As an error on BYU and Moats. Bases loaded for Brayden DeBenedictis on an 0-2 count. Takes ball one. The 1-2 curveball from Moats, and DeBenedictis goes down staring for a critical strikeout here in the top of the third.
Well, that's the best pitch of the game right there for Kendall Moats. Watch the movement on this ball. Slow curveball, just breaking down, and it looked like, if you're DeBenedictis, it looked like it was a little bit high, but nice framing job by Clausen.
That one definitely on the edge of the strike zone, goes in favor of BYU for out number one. Foul tip, strike one to Dominic Foscolina.
Now we see Moats going to his changeup a little bit more. Last pitch 77 miles an hour. The strikeout pitch same way. Throwing that changeup a little bit, trying to keep the Utes from just teeing off on the fastball.
Moats will not overpower you with his velocity, but he is known when he gets going as a guy that can play with you mentally.
Yeah, he's got that slow curve, nice changeup there. He's got a good slider. He's got a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. If he hits his spots, he can be tough to hit.
Dominic Foscolina now with an opportunity to add to this 2-1 lead for Utah. Moats missing outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
First inning, Foscolina grounded out the shortstop, Daniel Schneemann.
The 1-2 popped up. The ball will fall out of play. Sue gave chase at first base, and the count remains 1-2. Dunn on third, Tom on second, Migueles on first. 1 down, Utah with a 2-1 lead in the top of the third. Kendall Moats trying to get out of a jam, just picked up a big strikeout, and facing Dominic Foscolina. Outside ball 2.
Foscolina started tonight in right field. Very good athlete. He was an all-league selection in soccer at Livermore High School.
Utah has loaded the bases in 2 of the 3 innings and are trying to break things open a bit here. Swung on late, and look at this. Kendall Moats, big time back-to-back strikeouts as Foscolina is fooled by a knee buckling pitch for out number 2.
Yeah, you called that one. That's 74 miles an hour. Really changed speed well. Put it right on the outside part of the plate. Started out as a strike, and by the time Clausen catches it, it's a little out of the zone. That's the perfect pitch that time by Kendall Moats. He's made 2 of them with both these strikeouts here in this top of the 3rd inning.
The shortstop, Matt Richardson, for Utah now. With the bases loaded, Kendall Moats has struck out back-to-back Utah players. Delivers a fastball for strike 1, and he's ahead in the count. The 0-1 to Richardson, outside, ball 1. Richardson flying out to right field in his first at-bat. $17 runs batted in. A base hit here would give him likely 2 more. Curveball from Moats, and it's 1-2.
Well, you can see how effective that curveball is. It's coming in. That was 73 miles an hour. So it's really changing speeds, and the guys just aren't getting good swings at it at all. So we'll see again if he comes back with that 1-2 here. Richardson's having just seen it.
Check swing. The appeal, Richardson did not go around. 2-2.
You saw Clausen there to ask the appeal. If he does go around, you saw him step on the plate for that when he got the last ball off the dirt there. That would have been the 3rd out, but the first base umpire said no, he didn't go.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bases loaded scenario, and Richardson fights that off into the screen. So we stay at 2-2. Kendall Moats trying to strike out the side after surrendering a run and giving Utah the lead at 2-1. And loading the bases with no outs. Moats, big curveball. That one is well high, full count. Big pitch upcoming for both of these teams.
All the runners will be moving. 3-2, 2 out. So this could be the pitch of the game so far.
The payoff with the bases loaded. And Moats got him looking. Strikes out the side, and BYU stays within a run.
How about that? Right on the outside part of the plate. Look at that curve. And the last pitch, fastball right on the inside part of the plate. Gets him out of the jam here in the top of the 3rd.
Here's a classic movie quiz. 1959's Ben-Hur stars Charlton Heston.
Rome is an affront to God.
This grand epic earned more Oscar awards than any film before it. How many did it win?
May God grant me vengeance.
11, including Best Picture. You provide the popcorn, the couch, and the TV. We'll provide great movies like Ben-Hur.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you in part by Lube Doc.
Bottom of the 3rd inning, Utah has added to their lead over BYU, making it 2-1. And the Cougars have to feel fortunate after the jam they just got out of. Kendall Moats striking out the side with the bases loaded. For more on Moats and what he just pulled off, let's hit up Jason Shepard in the BYU dugout.
As he was walking into the dugout, Obviously, his teammates were very excited, met him at the top step, and everybody was high-fiving. But I've been around this BYU baseball program for 3 seasons now. I have never seen Kendall Moats that animated. He is normally a very even-keel guy, doesn't show a lot of emotion, but he was pumping his fists, he was laughing, he was screaming. In fact, David Clausen came up and wanted to give him a high five. He said, oh, no, I need a hug. Like, he was pumped, and it was really exciting to see his teammates were feeding off of it, guys.
All right, Shep, these are the kinds of experiences that coaches will point to when they go out to the mound and a guy's struggling. Look, you've been here before, you've done this, and you better believe that striking out the side scenario with the bases loaded against your rival is going to be on the top of the mind for coaches as they try and get Moats on track consistently. 1 down here in the bottom of the 3rd. Let's take a closer look at Moats exiting the field and what Jason Shepard was just describing. How would you rate that celebration? Now, right now, that doesn't seem too excited, but then he gets into the dugout.
Yeah, that's what you call a big smile, a smile of success right there. And we've got Shepard in the dugout there. Who else gets a reporter in the dugout to get firsthand, information like that? That's so cool, to capture the emotion right there and the time when it happens. So pretty lucky to have a guy like Jason Shepard in the dugout there for BYU.
Kringlen fouls that pitch back into the screen. Strike 1 against Jacob Rebar, who pitched very well in the 2nd inning, did give up a run to BYU in the bottom of the 1st, but now enjoying the slimmest of leads at 2-1. Shep will also speak with Bill Kinneberg, the head coach at Utah. We'll hear from him after the 6th inning. We'll talk with Mike Littlewood on headset from the BYU dugout as we head into the 4th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 down, nobody on for Keaton Kringlen. Utah with a 2-1 lead over BYU in Game 3 of 4 between the rivals in 2018. That pitch way outside and slides to the backstop. 2 balls and a strike.
Sometimes you see a pitch that's that wild, gets you a little scared to get back in that batter's box.
2-1, Kringlen up the middle, seeing eye single for the BYU left fielder. And Kringlen flirting with the batting average of right around 300 now after that base hit.
Ball's not a bad pitch, down low, a little bit below the knees, and Kringlen just goes right up the middle with it. And came into the game batting .299, and with that hit, probably does put him over the 300 mark.
2016 West Coast Conference Freshman of the Year in his junior season. Teamed up with Brock Hale as the 3-4 combo in the BYU baseball lineup, something that pitchers definitely need to be aware of when you game plan for this BYU hitting lineup. Strike delivered to Hale with Kringlen on first. Cougars trying to tie things up here in the bottom of the 3rd, down 2-1. Hale watches strike 2 hit the strike zone.
Boy, and talk about location, really good job by Jacob Rebar. This is arguably BYU's best hitter. He's had just an incredible year. And those 2 pitches on the outside part of the plate at about 90 miles an hour, knee high. Great location.
0-2 to the cleanup batter, Brock Hale. Stretching for that to first base, DeBenedictis over to his shortstop. Hale beats back the throw to first base. Kringlen is retired at second, so the Cougars avoid the double play thanks to the hustle of Brock Hale.
Again, a great pitch on the outside part of the plate, and when you're down 2 strikes, Hale just has to put a bat on the ball, and he does it. It goes out of the zone and puts it in play, making the Utes make a play on him and grounds into the out there.
Hale at first after reaching on the fielder's choice. That'll bring up Nate Favero. who drove in the Cougars' lone run in his first at-bat. Runner goes, and Brock Hale slides into scoring position at second.
That's the 5th stolen base on the year for Brock Hale. 5 for 6 now on the year. Look at this jump. Wow, he gets a big jump. Rebar was not expecting that and easily steals as the catcher, Kramer, couldn't come up with the ball.
Favero delivered his RBI with 2 outs on the board, now in a similar situation after Hale steals second. And the lefty on lefty matchup once again with an 0-1 count. Strike 2 to Favero.
And you go back to that comment saying delivered the RBI. We were thinking it was an error on second baseman Oliver Dunn, and it was on the scoreboard for the first couple innings there, but now they've taken it off the scoreboard and given Favero a hit on that.
Nate Favero has 18 RBIs on the season. And watches ball 1 miss outside from Rebar. Hale, big lead on second with 2 outs. And a 1-2 count to Favero. Favero, weak grounder to short, has an opportunity to beat the throw and does. Richardson was playing deep with Hale in his position at second base, and Favero with that weak grounder takes advantage and has his second single of the game. Runners on the corners now with 2 outs.
Yeah, what happened is Richardson had to keep Hale close at second over there, so he was playing behind him, was right behind him, maybe getting a chance for a pickoff throw, and then retreated to deep shortstop. As he's retreating, then Favero pounded it into the ground there, so we had to stop, put the brakes on, and come and get him, but it wasn't in time.
Brian Sue into the box with Hale on third and Favero on first. A base hit will tie the game at 2 in the bottom of the third. Rebar, first pitch to Sue, and it gets away from the catcher, Shea Kramer. Hale will beat the throw home as he slides in safely. Tied at 2 after a wild pitch.
Yeah, what happened there's a wild pitch, but watch, Rebar covers. The throw kind of beats Hale to the plate there, but Hale slides underneath it. It's a high throw, and you can see Hale easily slides underneath it. Rebar makes the tag, but by the time he tags him, Hale's across the base. So a good call by home plate umpire Patrick Riley, and the Cougars have tied it up here.
I think Rebar was arguing that Hale's hand never touched the plate, but I think he slid in and got that pinky just across. So Rebar was asking for the umpire's clarification on that. The play stands with Hale scoring on some heads-up base running, stealing second, advancing to third on the single by Favero, and then scoring on the wild pitch. You can see that left pinky touches home plate with the throw high, and BYU equals Utah with a run here in the third.
Yeah, if the umpires had the benefit of looking at a replay on that play, which they don't, it's no question, it was safe. Rebar didn't really have a good angle on that, but he was safe. He slid underneath there, and they had Mike Crawford, the guy that goes to the mound for the Utes, out there kind of giving Rebar a little words of advice or whatever you want to call that to get him refocused again to try to get out of this inning.
What an effort by Brock Hale. Not your typical cleanup batter. Not to say he can't hit with power, because he certainly does that, but he can really move around the bases. Brian Sue hits a moon ball into shallow right field, and Dominic Foscolina makes the successful catch to end the inning. BYU ties it up at 2 apiece after 3 complete innings. Kramer, Kiersey Jr., and Anderson due up for the Utes.
The missionary starter package at Mr. Mac includes 1 wool blend 2-pant suit, 4 wrinkle-free dress shirts, 4 washable ties, and a pair of Echo or Johnson & Murphy walking shoes. The missionary starter package at all 10 Mr. Mac stores.
This house has been in the same family for decades. Now they want an upgrade to make way for newborns and in-laws. This project puts Tommy and his team to the test.
All right, you good down there?
To help, we bring in a new generation of our own. A team of apprentices joins the crew to learn on the job and promote the building trades. Don't miss our Generation Next house on This Old House.
Next! Come on, I haven't got all day here. It doesn't come with peppers. You know, you told me you wanted mustard. You, back of the line.
Excuse me.
What?
Great sandwich. Thanks.
Compliments. Pass them on. From the Foundation for a Better Life.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you in part by Revere Health Orthopedics.
2-2 as we hit the top of the 4th inning between BYU and Utah. The Cougars tie things up in the bottom of the 3rd thanks to some heads-up base running by Brock Hale. Joining us now is the head coach of the BYU Cougars from his dugout, Mike Littlewood. Coach, I just talked about Brock Hale and running and tying this game up, but I want to rewind to what you just saw from Kendall Moats in his 2nd inning of pitching. He loads the bases, gives up at the time the 2-1 lead, and comes back with 3 consecutive strikeouts. What was most impressive from what Kendall Moats just pulled off on the pitching mound?
Well, obviously the 3 strikeouts, but I mean, if we can just feel the ball that lands in front of him, he doesn't have to do that. Doesn't have to have those heroics. But Kendall's got strikeout stuff. I mean, he's got a plus curveball and he spots up his fastball, and you know, unfortunately, he got himself. You know, he did give up the run, but he did a good job getting out of it. And when I went out there and told him, I said, hey, take a deep breath. It's likely that they're going to score, but let's just try to minimize a little bit and not let this thing get away from us. And I was wrong. They didn't score.
Boy, well, it looked like he found his changeup just at the right time there, Mike. Some of those, I mean, they were knee buckling up there.
Yeah, slider, curveball, changeup, fastball. I mean, 4-pitch mix that inning, those last 3 batters, which is what he definitely needed at that point.
Rhett Parkinson with an 0-2 count facing Shea Kramer, the number 9 batter for Utah. What can you tell us about the development of Rhett Parkinson as a middle innings reliever?
Well, I mean, Rhett's just a bulldog, and he had that mentality in high school, had that mentality at Salt Lake Community College. Got back from his mission. He's a little bit soft, to be honest with you, and he's really, I mean, his stuff's better, mid to upper 80s, but what makes him really good for us, especially the last month or 2, is just his bulldog attitude.
Coach, you told me earlier today on BYU Sports Nation, as Kramer goes down swinging, Clausen makes the throw to Sue at first, 1 down, that you've liked what you've seen consistently on the defensive side of the ball, but you're looking for confidence from a lineup that you figured you wouldn't really have to worry about much of that coming off of the year that they had at the plate last year. Where do you stand with the type of at-bats you've seen from your team tonight in terms of the confidence category?
Well, a little bit up and down. You know, Dave Clausen gets up there and takes a 1-2 fastball on the black. I think he's looking slider. We never look off speed with 2 strikes. You always look fastball and try to adjust. And so it's been a little bit up and down, but Nate Favero's had 2 really good at-bats with 2 outs and given us a chance to score, 2-out RBI, and then moves Brock along to third base with his infield hit, and with the pass ball gave us a chance to score. So a little bit up and down, looking for probably a little bit more consistency there. Sue's had a couple at-bats where I think he got a pitch he can hit and doesn't do a whole lot with it. So, but you know, overall, 2-2 ball game, that's kind of what you expect when we play Utah.
You know, Mike, you got a really good crowd out here today. I mean, I don't know, we'll know in the 16th what it is, but, you know, it's just that you're part of exciting baseball that you guys play, and when it's a rivalry like you, it's fun to see the crowd out here.
Oh, it sure is. I mean, we're probably pushing 3,000 a night, and it's really been the first warm night, even though we still have sleeves on tonight. It's the first game, I think, at our park this year that's been really nice weather, and so it's good to see the people come out.
You've earned the good weather after everything that you've gone through.
It's been crazy.
Coach, thanks for the time, and we wish you best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thanks, guys.
Hey, good luck, Mike.
Mike Littlewood, the head coach at BYU. 2-2 ball game, top of the 4th, 1 down. Rhett Parkinson, who Coach Littlewood just called a bulldog on the mound, is the 3rd pitcher on the score sheet tonight for BYU, facing a very talented Deshaun Kearsey Jr., one of the best batters in the entire Pac-12. at .367 this season. And look at that, Parkinson takes down Keirsey Jr. looking on strikes. So if you go back to what Kendall Moats did to get out of the top of the third, that's 4 strikeouts and 5 batters faced. Or is it 5 and 5? Yeah, correction, that's 5 in a row.
Well, you take a look at that location. It's on the black, and as Coach Littlewood pointed out with David Clausen earlier, you know, you don't look curveball, you look fastball and adjust. And that's what happened there with Keirsey. You know, looked like he was expecting maybe something off speed, but that fastball just threw it right by him there.
5 consecutive strikeouts between the combination of Kendall Moats and Rhett Parkinson. 2 down in the top of the 4th. Parkinson now trying to handle his business against Chandler Anderson, who is 2 for 2, including a single and a double. On the ground to short. Routine play for Daniel Schneemann, and a 1-2-3 inning for Rhett Parkinson. We remain tied at 2 and go to the bottom of the 4th. Clausen due up for the Cougars, followed by Dean and Perns.
With the BYU license plates, no matter where you are, you show your Cougar spirit, and you make it possible for students to get an education. The donation you make when you get the license plates goes to support BYU scholarships. So whether spreading Cougar pride coast to coast or getting to the big game, you're also funding scholarship opportunities for BYU students.
Learn about free special plates today at alumni.byu.edu/plates.
Hi, I'm Chris Kimball. You know, I've spent the last 16 years helping people cook at home through television. But in the last couple of years, I've done something quite different. We're traveling around the world, looking for new techniques and ingredients, rethinking how we cook here in America, bringing the recipes back to Milk Street to do bolder, fresher, easier recipes. So please join us here at Milk Street Television as we change the way you cook. Right here on KBYU 11.
Welcome back to Miller Park in Provo, Utah. The BYU Cougars and Utah Utes tied at 2 as we move to the bottom of the 4th inning. Utah striking first, taking advantage of a balk called on BYU starter Bo Burrup and putting a ball in play to earn the first run of the game. Nate Favero would answer back for BYU, driving in Daniel Schneemann. In the bottom of the 1st, we're tied at 1 into the 3rd. And the Utes push their hit total to 5. They score 1 against Kendall Moats to go up 2-1, but BYU and Brock Hale, thanks to the sneaky base running by the cleanup batter for BYU, equaled things up after a wild pitch in the bottom of the 3rd. And that's where we stand. New pitcher for Utah, replacing the starter Jacob Rebar, is Riley Pierce, wearing number 10, 7.45 earned run average. And he will start things off against the BYU catcher DC Clausen.
Riley Pierce came from high school just down the road here, Salem High School. He's a redshirt freshman, 6'2", 185 pounds. He was 2 times honorable mention All-State at Salem High School, All-Region. Good strikeout pitcher.
Our game summary brought to you by Deseret First Credit Union. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future. Clausen takes strike 1 from Pierce. Clausen struck out looking in his first at-bat. Takes ball 1 outside. Utah with 2 runs on 5 hits. BYU with 2 runs on 4 hits. The Cougars have committed 1 error. Utah remaining perfect defensively thus far. The 1-1 to Clausen. A little looper to second, no problem for Oliver Dunn. 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, that ball was a little deceptive that time for Dunn. It was hit just off the end of the bat, so it just kind of floated out there. It looked like it was going to go over his head at the start, and he's ready to make a jump, and then it just kind of died right into his glove.
Kyle Dean back up for BYU, singled in his first at-bat, hit a shot down towards third base. And he will try and work his magic against Riley Pierce. Low ball 1 to Dean. Batting 8th tonight for BYU, the designated hitter out of the San Diego, California area. 1-0, Dean behind that pitch from Pierce, and it's 1-1. Pierce taking his time now in the full windup. Dean pokes that off the end of his bat into the screen on the right side, and it's 1-2.
Last year, 2017, he hit 2 home runs in the 3rd game against Pepperdine. Then he came back, hit 2 home runs in a 23-4 win at Utah Valley, seeing the ball really well, and then he was injured with that back injury and missed the rest of the season.
Dean making his 11th start of the 2018 season. And that one is on the ground in play. Dean will try and beat it out. Long throw, and he does. Pretty good throw from Riker Tom at third base. And Dean is on at first with the hustle play down the line. He's 2 for 2.
Yeah, Riker had to back up on that ball. Made the perfect play, made the perfect throw over there. You be the judge. It looked like a bang-bang play. And BYU's benefited for the call. Watch it right here. Another angle. That's a
wow.
That's tough to call.
The stretch is on by DeBenedictis at first, and it was a beautiful stretch on his part. That might have just barely beat Kyle Dean. I don't know.
Yeah, it was close. It could have gone either way there, but BYU gets the benefit of it.
Dean at first. Pierce, the left-hander, facing Jarrett Perns, and ahead in the count with a first pitch strike.
Yeah, Riker Tom did everything he needed to do. He had to back up on the ball. He threw a strong throw over to first, but Dean just legged it out for his 2nd hit of the game.
Pierce from the stretch. Perns scoring momentarily to bunt, pulled back as that pitch came low into the zone. 1-1.
By the time they took a look over there at third base, saw Riker Tom playing back about 5 feet off of the bag. So Perns was going to put that one down the third base side, try to earn a little bunt, if not worst case sacrifice, but leg out a base hit.
1-1 to the number 9 batter for BYU, Jarrett Perns. Throw over to first from Pierce. Pushes Dean back to the bag. And Pierce will get set for a 1-1 pitch once again. Foul tip back into the screen, 1-2. Jarrett Perns struck out in his first at bat in the 2nd inning.
You see how far that ball bounces back to the pitcher there. That's what happens on that pass ball or wild pitch. When Kramer went back, the new matting makes the ball pop back out towards the catcher a lot quicker, making it that much more difficult to score from third base.
Long look from Pierce over at Kyle Dean at first, and another throw over. Once again, Kyle Dean has not attempted a stolen base. In his limited 37 at-bats compared to what the rest of his team has done. Has not been on base a ton relatively, but twice tonight, and has certainly drawn the attention of the Utah pitcher Riley Pierce. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Jarrett Perns, trying to advance Dean over from first. That'll draw Some jeers from this pro BYU crowd in Provo, Utah.
Well, on deck, you've got Brennan Anderson in the top of the order, so we'll see how conservative Coach Littlewood will be here, whether he sends.
Full count as that misses outside.
And whether he sends Dean or not now, with a 3-2 count, puts another equation into it. This is a situation where you'd even be more susceptible maybe to sending him.
Full count, 1 out, Dean on first. 2-2 game in the bottom of the 4th. Jarrett Perns facing Riley Pierce. Payoff pitch. Dean goes, and it is a hit and run. Popped up, that ball drops out of play just over the Utah dugout.
Kyle Dean had a good jump on that pitch, but with 3-2, Perns is looking to drive it somewhere.
Pierce takes his signal from Shea Kramer, the Utah catcher. Another payoff pitch, Dean going. Strikeout, throw down to second, and what a play by the Utah defense. Kramer guns down Dean for a strike him out, throw him out, end to the 4th inning. Perns behind the fastball from Pierce. Kramer with the throw down to Dunnage, second on target, and Dean is thrown out. We'll stay tied at 2 going to the 5th.
Next time on Death in Paradise.
The victim's name is Touch Walker.
A man is murdered after his expedition strikes it rich.
Santa Ana Silva. Do you mean like actual treasure?
The victim identified his killer with a final phone call.
He said he was on your boat and that you stabbed him.
And there's this.
I killed Tosh Walker.
Sorry, what?
So why isn't Humphrey convinced?
What more do you want?
Find out on Death in Paradise. Next time on Father Brown.
My husband's murderer decided to confess.
An evil killer Father Brown put behind bars is free.
Knowing Catherine Corvin, she will want to torment me.
And he isn't buying her new calling.
God is watching you.
I pray for it.
But after a suspicious death,
She hanged herself.
Father Brown is certain she's the culprit.
Tell the truth!
And more lives will be lost if he's wrong. Father Brown.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you in part by SAG Chevron.
Top of the 5th inning in Provo, Utah. A gorgeous night for baseball. A non-conference showdown at the NCAA level between the Utah Utes out of the Pac-12 and the BYU Cougars representing the West Coast Conference. Our game essentials brought to you by Emergency Essentials. For over 30 years, helping people prepare at beprepared.com. Emergency Essentials. At the roughly halfway point of the game, Gary, you laid out some keys. How do you feel each of these teams are doing in regard to those keys?
Well, I think so far Utah, they need to get a lead, and they did. That's why the game is 2-2 right now. It's a very close ball game, anybody's game. And 7 through 9 production so far, 7 through 9 batters for Utah are 0 for 6 combined. So they haven't been able to come up and get that production yet. And BYU on the other side, you know, squaring it up. They've got 5 hits so far, and they've had opportunities to get other runs in. And if they can do that and start getting ahead a little bit here, start a streak, and then use that momentum to take them through to conference play as they host San Diego later this week.
The Cougars trying to win just their 2nd game in the last 5. Utah trying to snap a 6-game losing streak. And again, these teams will play 4 times this season. This is game number 3. Each team taking a game apiece by 1 run. Strikeout for Rhett Parkinson, his 3rd in the 4 outs that he has been responsible for.
Boy, and he's living on that outside corner. That makes it tough for a lefty. Oliver Dunn, boy, that's just a perfect pitch. Tough to go after that one, just on the black of the outside part of the outside corner. Great pitch that time by Parkinson.
Done to that point, 2 for 2 on the night, then takes the strikeout against Rhett Parkinson. 1 down in the top of the 5th. Riker Tom, 1 for 2 on his night. And he has driven in both runs for Utah, much like Nate Favero has driven in or been a part of getting those runs in for BYU.
And Riker Tom has done a nice job of hitting up there. He's been going to the opposite side. Ball's outside. They're trying to pitch him away. And first at bat, he grounded to second base, got the run in. And his last at bat, he hit it between the second baseman and the first baseman. So he's able to use all of the field there and go to the opposite side.
Tom into the gap in left center field to the warning track, and he easily will have a stand-up double with 1 out. Riker Tom in the cleanup position now, 2 for 3 with 2 runs batted in, a single and a double most recently here with 1 out in the 5th.
Well, that's a pitch that Coach Littlewood calls cookies. That was just right down the heart of the plate, and Riker Tom just ripped it into the gap out there for an easy double. But that was a pitch that kind of got away from Rhett Parkinson a little bit there.
Riker Tom improves his batting average to over 300, now at 304 with his 2-hit performance thus far tonight. Hit number 6 for the Utes. Eric Migueles goes to the gap in left center. That one hops the wall and will bring in the go-ahead run for the Utes. Back-to-back doubles for Utah in the 5th, and it's a 3-2 lead for the visitors from Salt Lake City.
Boy, and Migueles hit that one right on the button, too. It looked like those balls were hitting exactly the same spot. Both of them about 1 hopping the wall out there in left center. It's 380 in left center and 402 in center. So that hits about 385, 390. And you can see Migueles, if it gets up in the air a little bit more, then that ball's going to be out of here. But it short hops the wall, and he strolls into second with an RBI double. Back-to-back doubles here.
Riker Tom scores a run to go along with his 2 runs batted in. And Parkinson, after a strikeout to open things up in the 5th, has given up back-to-back doubles and now finds himself trailing the Utes by 1 run at 3-2. Braden DiBenedictis. RBI opportunity with Migueles on second. Foul ball, strike 2. These rivalry games between BYU and Utah typically come down to the wire and within a run or 2. That has been the case in both of the first 2 games this year. 7-6 BYU win in late March. In the first week of April, Utah with a 4-3 victory on their home field. And now the Utes with a 1-run lead halfway through the game. DiBenedictis trying to add to that as Parkinson goes well outside to make it 2 balls and 2 strikes. The 2-2 from Parkinson, and DiBenedictis rather fights that one off.
Well, you talk about close games too, Spencer. You're right on. The Desert First duel, year by year with baseball for BYU, they've won, I believe it's 9 of the last 10, but they win 1-1. The games are tied, and they go by total runs in the 2 games. They've done that a couple times, and no one's won more than 2 out of 3 of the series, except for once with BYU. So all these games and these rivalries have been tight and contested, and they'll usually go down to the 3rd game to decide who wins the Desert Duel points for the baseball. I should say Deseret first. Last year, 2017, BYU 1-1. But BYU won the first game 11-6, and then Utah won 7-6 at home. So BYU gets the favor there by run differential.
Full count to DiBenedictis. Clausen wanted to converse with Parkinson before this Critical pitch. And the Cougars hoping to stay within 1 run. That one is fought off. Fisted out towards first base into foul territory and will stay at a full count. Parkinson, shallow right field. Hale is going to let that ball drop in front of him, and that will drive Migueles to third base. So Utah again threatening with runners on the corners. 1 down. They already have 1 run across here in the 5th inning. And Foscolina coming up for Utah and Bill Kinneberg. This is where you feel that Utah needs to step up if they want to win this game, because you enter the back part of the order, 7, 8, 9, and as you mentioned, Gary, the 7, 8, 9 batters for Utah to this point have combined 0 for 6. They can certainly change things around here with Dominic Foscolina, who lays down a beautiful bunt. Sue goes home, and the Cougars try and tag out Migueles, but Migueles beats the throw. BYU gambles, and it benefits the Utes, who are now doubling up the Cougars at 4-2. I think that's a good call.
Yeah, it's a good call. By the time the tag is made, watch the foot of McGillis. He's on the plate. Boy, bang, bang play, but just right on it there. You can see he's got a great view. Home plate umpire Patrick Riley, and just barely beats that throw. So a nice play by Sue. Good release, good throw, but the tag just a little bit late.
Small ball pays off for Utah, and a bunt RBI for Dominic Foscolina. Runners go in a hit-and-run scenario, and that's going to be another base hit. It bounces past Perns. Hale has to change directions. That'll drive in 2 more runs. Utah takes a 6-2 lead in the top of the 5th inning. 4 runs across. Matt Richardson, the one who delivered it. So on cue, Gary, as we discuss, the 7, 8, 9 batters, back-to-back RBIs by Foscolina, who bunted, and Richardson, who just drives in 2 into the gap in right center, and that ball caused Perns and Hale a bit of trouble.
Yeah, that was one of those hits that you thought maybe Perns had a shot at. Made a good effort at it, but it bounced right in front of him, then bounced over his glove, allowing the runners to take an extra base there. So Utah, 4 runs on the board here at the top of the 5th, and that will be all for Rhett Parkinson.
So Parkinson heads to the dugout. BYU now trailing by 4 runs. 6-2. And into the game comes Alex Perrone to try and calm things down for BYU. While Perrone warms up for BYU, we remind you to check out A Race Unlike Any Other on BYU TV. 4 different teams competing for a $50,000 grand prize, and they take a 10-day journey across the country. We call it Relative Race. You can watch an all-new episode this Sunday at 9 Eastern on BYU TV. Tonight, our baseball broadcast being shown statewide on KBYU and streamed worldwide on youtube.com/BYU TV Sports. Game number 3 of 4 between Utah and BYU, and the Utes feeling awfully good about where they are in the 5th inning. 4 runs across, 1 down, and Matt Richardson, the man who just drove in 2 runs, is safely on second.
And now they're looking for Alex Perrone to try to put out the fire here. He's 6'2", 175-pound junior. Went to Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas and the College of Southern Idaho. He prepped at Bishop Gorman, was a national merit finalist, originally signed with Pepperdine, but then went to College of Southern Idaho, and then came here to BYU.
The batter for Utah, once Perrone is ready to go, will be the catcher, Shea Kramer. And Perrone has his right arm warm and ready to roll to take on the number 9 batter for the Utes. And a first pitch strike from Perrone. The 4th pitcher tonight for BYU. Cougars started Bo Burrup, who lasted 1 inning, followed by Kendall Moats. You just saw Rhett Parkinson leave the game, and now Perrone. The 0-1 with Richardson on second, outside for a ball.
So far on the day, Shea Kramer popped up to the second baseman in the second and struck out in the 4th. So 0 for 2 tonight.
A ball, a strike, and an out. And Perrone will step off the backside of the pitcher's rubber and reset. Kramer, sharply hit ball. Schneemann, nice stop, and a throw over to Sue at first for out number 2. Excellent defensive play by Daniel Schneemann.
Well, that time you saw the strength of Daniel Schneemann's arm. He's deep in the hole. He backhands that, comes up throwing, but he's got just a rocket arm. He threw the ball over 90 miles an hour when he was pitching in high school. But look at how much he gets on this ball. A nice stretch over there by Sue, but he just has a rocket arm. He's got major league type fielding abilities out there at shortstop.
Schneemann has been clocked at 93 miles an hour with that throw from his shortstop position to first base. Deshaun Kiersey Jr. trying to add to a 4-run Utah lead. The Utes entered the top of the 5th, tied at 2, and had a heyday against Rhett Parkinson, driving him out of the game. Utah now with 9 combined hits to produce those 6 runs, and Perrone delivers a strike to Kiersey Jr., 1-1. Utah's best hitter, searching for his first hit, has a 4-game hit streak currently rolling. Has a strikeout and a couple of flyouts. And good weight on that curveball from Deshaun Kiersey Jr., who will drive in a run. 3rd double of the inning by Utah in the 5th. 5 runs for the Utes to make it 7-2.
Well, that's why you see Kiersey's such a good hitter. Look at this pitch. Outside corner, he takes it to the opposite field. He leads his team with 15 doubles. He's up in the top 10 in nationally with doubles per game, and just kind of has great speed. When he goes to the opposite field like that, if he hits down the line, he'll end up in second for sure. Possibility of getting to third.
Double number 16 for Kiersey Jr. on the season. He is the man on second base. 2 outs, a 7-2 Utah lead now. Perrone in with a strike on Chandler Anderson, who was 2 for 3. Ten hits for Utah. Looking for number 11, and they've got it. Chandler Anderson now 3 for 4. Kiersey Jr. scores 8-2 Utah. And the Utes have absolutely blown this game open in the 5th inning.
They sure have, and and that's going to be all for Perrone. But they've just, every hitter, it's just been hard hits. The ones out to the gap in left center, the doubles, that one to right field by Richardson. This one right here, line shot right on the money by Anderson for another run batted in. So the Utah hitters have just come alive here. Just 8 runs with 11 hits, and we're only in the top of the 5th inning here.
Utah breaking out the bats, and we'll have another pitching change for Mike Littlewood and BYU. Kenny Saenz is the man. Pitcher number 5 for the Cougars, and he will warm up with 2 down.
Saenz, 5'8", 165-pound junior, hometown Corpus Christi. He played at the University of Oklahoma. And his brother David Jr. catches at Philadelphia University. So he's a guy that they kind of counted on this year for BYU to possibly be a starter. And they're looking for signs to show signs that he's able to come up and take responsibility and get into that rotation and be a part of the, part of the pitching staff here that makes a difference down the stretch.
All is well in the Utah dugout. Enjoying a 6-run lead on the road against BYU in front of a crowd of an estimated 3,000. We'll get an official number for you in just a bit. And the Utes looking strong to break their 6-game losing streak on the season. If you're just joining us, an explosive 5th inning for the Utes. Eric Migueles driving in Riker Tom, back-to-back doubles. Then Pascalino lays down a bunt. The Cougars opt to go home, but can't get Migueles. Everybody's safe. That would bring up Matt Richardson, who would double and drive in 2 more runs. Shea Kramer put up the second out for Utah, and then Deshaun Kiersey Jr. and Chandler Anderson deliver back-to-back base hits to make it 8-2. Kenny Saenz over to first base, chasing Chandler Anderson back to the bag. And again, our game summary brought to you by Deseret First Credit Union. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future. Long road and big hill to climb for BYU on their home field.
Well, the good news for BYU is you're going to have 5 more at-bats. And the Utah pitching staff has averaged giving up over 11 runs per game in the last 6 games here. So the opposing teams have really hit the pitching staff hard. And that's kind of been the weakness of Utah so far in the Pac-12. Their pitching staff just hasn't been able to hold down the opposing team. So BYU will have 5 more at-bats. And just something tells me in this series, it's going to end up getting close again.
Well, we should remind everyone, BYU had a 6-2 lead going into the top of the 9th in the first game of this season series, only to give up 4 runs in the top of the 9th, tie things at 6, and then win on a wild pitch in extra innings. 1 ball, 1 strike to Oliver Dunn, the number 3 batter for Utah. Saenz in there for strike 2 at 88 miles an hour on the fastball.
Well, then when BYU played at Utah, Utah scored the winning run with the bases loaded on a walk. So some crazy things happen, and I just got a feeling you're going to see more of it here as we go on with this game.
Good pitch from Saenz. Clausen with the put-out throw down to Sue at first base. And a strikeout for Kenny Saenz. The Cougars bring the top of the 5th to a merciful end. 8-2 Utah after 6 runs.
Growing up, I don't remember there being a lot of art and culture in Provo. 10 years ago, I was asked to be on a board to revitalize downtown. I am a co-founder and host of the Rooftop Concert Series, a summer series in downtown Provo using our own local musicians. The point is that it's really accessible. It's not only about making our downtown vibrant, but also to say Provo's changed and there is something for everybody now.
Next time on Hinterland.
The victim's name is Owen Bainon, lawyer.
A wealthy man is killed in his home.
What was taken from the house?
A pair of antique shotguns.
Matthias thinks the guns may hold the key.
Lovely looking things. Expensive too.
But when a suspect is investigated, a body is found.
I warned you about that boy.
And the local mob wants justice.
You need to get your facts straight before you do something you might regret.
Hinterland.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you in part by Foot Insurance.
Beautiful nights and an even prettier scene on the scoreboard if you're a Utah fan. 8-2 lead over BYU going into the bottom of the fifth. 6 runs for the Utes in that top half of the fifth. Let's check in with Jason Shepard.
Everybody, Spencer, certainly surprised with the way the top of the fifth went with the 6 runs, but at that point it was all about just getting out of that inning so that BYU could start its comeback. Once the inning was over, everybody in the dugout was cheering each other on, saying it's time to chip away. And as you mentioned before break, you know, these games just have a way of becoming close even when one team has a lead, so they know there will be opportunities, and they were talking about just trying to take advantage of those before this game is over, guys.
All right, we'll see if a very entertaining and often strange series delivers some more unpredictable results here. BYU hoping for that scenario. Utah will now go to their pitcher, S.K. Johnson, standing for Spencer Kevin. With a 4.95 earned run average, he's pitched 20 innings, 23 strikeouts, 17 walks. And Gary, you mentioned Utah's pitching staff and their struggles over this current 6-game losing streak. I do want to add one side note to that. They were taking on the currently 9th-ranked UCLA Bruins in 3 of those games, and a pretty solid Arizona State squad on the road as well. So it has not been an easy trek for Utah through a loaded Pac-12, and after BYU, they'll host Arizona for 3 games before hosting #1 ranked Stanford in Salt Lake City for a 3-game series.
Yeah, it doesn't get any, there's no easy games in the Pac-12. And against UCLA, they gave up 16, 6, and 12. And against Arizona State, 7, 15, and 13. So they gave up a lot of runs. And Spencer Kevin Johnson here, he's coming in to try to keep BYU from responding and getting back into this game. He's a sophomore, 6'1", 200-pound, a local product out of Syracuse High School here in Utah. He made his debut last year in 2017 against BYU and did not allow a hit over 2 shutout innings and had 2 strikeouts in March 28th, a year ago from today.
The 20 innings he's pitched have been spread across 13 appearances, holding his opponents to that 191 batting average. Has a 1 ball and 2 strikes count on the leadoff batter for BYU in the bottom of the 5th, Brennan Anderson. And you'll see his fastball velocity hit right around 90 to 92. That one fouled off by Anderson to stay at 1-2.
And that last pitch you're right on there, Spencer, was 91 miles an hour.
Johnson working from the stretch. And that is high for ball 2.
Brennan on today, flew to center field. Almost a home run his first at bat. Caught at the warning track out there at, by Deshaun Kiersey, and he grounded to second in the 2nd inning.
Anderson takes ball 3 high, full count to the leadoff batter for BYU.
Anderson being very patient at the plate there. They need, you don't need a 6-run home run. You just need to chip away, like you were talking about earlier. Get 1 or 2 runs here and there and just keep working away and trying to get back into this game.
Leadoff man for BYU, Brennan Anderson, both in the game and in this inning, goes down on strikes. Advantage, S.K. Johnson, 1 down in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, really good pitch this time. Watch this location. Down, outside part of the plate, 90 miles an hour, little movement on it. Really good pitch.
That'll bring up Daniel Schneemann. Walked in his first at-bat. 0 for 1. He pulls that down the first base line. DeBenedictis, no troubles as he scoops that up and beats Schneemann to the bag for out number 2. Keaton Kringlen will try and extend this inning here in the 5th with 2 outs. Johnson has taken care of Anderson on a strikeout and Schneemann on the ground out. A 2-2 game after 4 complete innings. And then Utah erupting for 6 runs in the top of the 5th to make it 8-2. Johnson with that high delivery on the fastball, low for ball 1.
Kringlen came into this game batting .299, flew to center in the first and got a base hit up the middle in the second to put his average back over 300.
1-0, this time a strike. Another fastball from Johnson on the outside corner, 1-1. Tonight's attendance officially 2,605 at Miller Park. On the baseball side, Larry H. Miller Field. That is a top 10 attendance all time, ranking number 9. Kringlen pulls that on the ground into foul territory towards the BYU dugout. 1-2, bases empty, 2 outs. BYU looking for some type of spark offensively. It has been a struggle for the Cougars as they have dropped 3 of the last 4, and in so doing have managed in the losses 3 runs, 4 runs, and 1 run. 2 here tonight. Kringlen reaches for that ball. It is slicing foul, and the count stays at 1-2. The good news for Keaton Kringlen on the BYU side is he's finally getting back to full health. A guy that's been dealing with hamstring issues for a good portion of the season seems to be back to mostly his regular self and starting again in left field. He was put in the designated hitter position because he has such a valuable bat while he was trying to overcome the hamstring situation. So Mike Littlewood will take any break he can get, especially from an experienced batter like Keaton Kringlen, who is that natural spark for this BYU team in so many ways, just by the way he carries himself and his attitude. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bases empty, BYU trailing by 6 runs, 8-2 in the bottom of the 5th. And a blow-by fastball from Johnson. That one hits 92 on the radar gun. 1-2-3 inning for the Utes. And a wink from S.K. Johnson in towards his dugout. Take a seat, Keaton Kringlen will go to the 6th.
Wrapping up in a Minky Couture luxurious blanket. Getting cozy with family and friends. A gift for everyone. Minky Couture, official luxury blanket of BYU Athletics.
They live along the South African coastline, and their habitat next to humans puts these African penguins in harm's way.
We've run out of space, basically.
but a team of specialists is dedicated to helping them survive.
Doing absolutely everything in our power to save that bird.
It's the Uplifting series about the efforts to rescue this extraordinary species, Penguin Hospital.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you by Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Brady Industries, honestly better. And by AAA. Learn more at AAA.com.
Into the 6th inning, Utah holding on to a 6-run lead over BYU thanks to a 6-run 5th inning. 8 runs on 11 hits for the Utes, who are 9-28 on the season, 4-11 in Pac-12 play. That is just behind Washington State for last place in the Pac-12. But these are the types of games, these rivalry contests, that can really spark a team emotionally, and the Utes could use that right now as they are going to be dealing with Arizona and #1 ranked Stanford over the next few weeks. BYU also has a one-off scenario against Stanford that they will play in Palo Alto later this season. And not a great start for Kenny Saenz to open up the top of the 6th, pitching for BYU. 3-0 count to Riker Tom, make it 4 consecutive balls on 4 pitches, and Tom makes his way down to first base. Statistically speaking, when you walk the leadoff batter, more often than not, that guy will find a way to score.
Yeah, and you look at Coach Littlewood, if there was one thing that would make him matter than anything else, is for a pitcher to walk the leadoff hitter. And for any manager, you know, it just, that drives you crazy.
Eric Migueles, the designated hitter, takes a strike from Saenz. So Kenny finding the zone for BYU after 4 consecutive balls to Riker Tom. Migueles drove in a run, and there is more problems for Saenz as that pitch is offline. He crosses up his catcher, Clausen, allowing Tom to take second base and get into scoring position with no outs in the 6th.
Well, that pitch hit about 5 feet in front of home plate, so not much of a chance that time for Clausen. He tried to block it, but it was so far up the line and in front of first base that not much you could do about that.
Just like that, Riker Tom on second base. Migueles from the left side, facing the left-handed Kenny Saenz. Migueles on the ground to Schneemann. Throw over to Sue at first for out #1. Tom will advance to third base on the play. Ball put in play, and Kinneberg, the coach at Utah, will take that from his DH, Migueles, with Braden D. Benedictus coming to the plate.
It's not the conventional way to get the runner from second to third, is hit it to the left side, but it worked.
Diving stop by Anderson. That'll hold the runner at third. And DeBenedictis is thrown out at first base. Brennan Anderson coming up with a key defensive play for BYU. With the infield in, he had to reach back across his body to make the stop, look down the runner, Riker Tom, at third, and then deliver the throw.
That was a great play. He got such a good jump on the ball. Brennan Anderson's very quick, very good feet. Got such a good jump on that and dove, extended his body completely just to stop it, and saved a run right there.
Saenz showing the credit where credit is due after that play made by Anderson. And now with 2 outs, the BYU pitcher feeling a little bit more comfortable as he faces Dominic Foscolina. Strike 1 swinging to make the count 1-1. How about this stat? Utah 8 for 19 as a team with runners on base. and 7 for 17 with runners in scoring position. Both of those averages over 400 in tonight's game.
No, that's pretty impressive. You know, they went against UCLA. They scored 3, 3, and 4 against them. Against Arizona State, they scored 4, 7, and 8. So they were scoring some runs, but the pitching just couldn't hold them down.
Foscolina on the 1-2 count. Takes a pitch low for ball 2. Tom still on third. Signs trying to get out of this inning. Fought off into the screen. And the count stays at 2-2. Tom bluffs a potential steal home, and Signs in there. Here we go to Foscolina. Fouled back once again.
Good change up that time by Signs, but he got it up just a little bit into the zone, and Foscolina battles, fouls it off. Count remains at 3-2 here.
Full count, runner on third. Utah trying to add to a 6-run lead, and a good job by Dominic Foscolina to stay alive against Kenny Signs. Foscolina waits on the curveball from Signs, and another fouled off pitch.
And we got a good duel going on here between Signs and Foscolina. A major league record was set the other day by the Giants by their hitter, had 22 pitches in order to get him out. He finally flew out, but 22 pitches in the count.
Brandon Belt was the batter for the Giants, and a walk is earned by Dominic Foscolina after a lengthy at-bat against Kenny Signs.
And that's tough on a pitcher when you go to 3-2 and 4 foul balls out there on really good pitches, and then you lose them. It just gets a little frustrating. You just think, geez, I just threw 11 or 12 pitches and they weren't all bad, and then I end up walking the guy.
Listen to this. With 21 foul balls, Gary Scheide, it cost the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim over $100 in baseballs because of what Brandon Belt did. And now the Cougars trying to work a pickle situation, and with Foscolina trying to take second, Riker Tom ambitiously tried to go home, and a heads-up play by Sue to go to his catcher Clausen, and an unorthodox ending to the top of the 6th, but BYU prevents a further run. They stay within 6 runs at 8-2 going to the bottom of the 6th.
A forgotten chapter of the Holocaust.
They were systematically exterminating people.
A great center of culture destroyed.
One of the most important cities in Jewish history.
About 70,000 Jews murdered by the Nazis. But how did 12 escape to reveal the truth?
We're picking up 2 hot spots.
There is something there.
A scientific quest to find the Holocaust escape tunnel on Nova.
The Ganges, a river central to life in India. Host Sue Perkins explores this waterway.
I don't know what I expect.
She discovers the incredible places.
Utterly beautiful.
And people.
That makes me love you even more.
Along this sacred river.
Politeness has no place on this bridge.
The challenges.
I don't even know what that smell is.
And splendor.
One of the most spiritual sights in the entire world.
Of the Ganges.
BYU Baseball on BYU TV is brought to you by Emergency Essentials, 30 years of helping people prepare. The BYU Store, the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Deseret First Credit Union, sharing your values. And by DexterLaw.com, for help when you need it most.
The Utah Utes with a 6-run advantage. They are 12 outs away from ending their 6-game losing streak, and doing so against their arch rivals from Provo, Utah, the BYU Cougars. Great to have you with us, whether you're watching on KBYU or streaming it on BYU TV Sports, courtesy of youtube.com/BYU TV Sports. Alongside Gary Scheide, I'm Spencer Linton. A great night for NCAA baseball. Temperatures in the mid-60s. Top 10 crowd all time for BYU with over 2,600. As you take a look inside the BYU dugout, and pitcher Kenny Saenz, who got out of the inning unscathed in the top of the 6th to keep BYU within what looks like reasonable striking distance given the history of this series, but still 6-run advantage for Utah on the road is a hefty mountain to climb for BYU.
Well, it is, but you see Bill Kenneberg, the coach from Utah, has done a couple things here to try to get the Utes going. He's tried to suicide squeeze, and that worked. He's tried the double steal here, get the runner caught in the baseline and try to get the runner from third home, and that almost worked. So he's doing a couple creative things there to try to manufacture runs for Utah, and it's been very successful. 8-2 here, bottom of the 6th inning.
Utah has thrown out 3 different pitchers on the mound tonight. The latest is Spencer Kevin Johnson, who was throwing heat in the bottom of the 5th, including a 92-mile-an-hour fastball to finish things off with a strikeout against Caton Kringland. The number 4 batter for BYU, Brock Hale, in his cleanup position. 0 for 1 tonight, did reach on a fielder's choice in the 3rd inning, looking for a base hit here, and that ball just slips out of the hand of Johnson and sails everyone.
Brock Hale was hit by a pitch in the 1st inning, and that pitch couldn't hit him. It was so far to the right. It just slips out of his hand. Sometimes that happens as a pitcher. You can just see, Kevin Johnson just wiped his hand on his pants and had a lot of sweat on there, and that ball just slipped out of his hands.
I'm channeling my inner Bob Uecker when I say just a bit outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Brock Hale. S.K. Johnson, and Hale reaches down low to pop that one out of play and stay alive in the batter's box.
They're trying to work Brock Hale away. They saw the pitcher last time, Riley Pierce, got ahead with 2 strikes, threw it on the outside corner, and Brock Hale just did a kind of a protective swing and just slowly grounded it to first.
Another 1-2 pitch. Hale goes down on strikes, and again, that low 90s fastball from S.K. Johnson has been burning past the heart of the lineup of BYU as he takes care of Kringland on strikes and Hale swinging.
And that ball's just right down the middle, right about belt high, but 92 miles an hour, and that shows you when you've got that kind of velocity, sometimes you can get away with bad pitches.
Hale swings underneath the high cheese from Johnson. 1 down. Nate Favero has been the most productive batter for BYU tonight at his number 5 spot in the lineup, and he takes ball 1 low. Favero 2 for 2 with a couple of singles. Had a run batted in his first at-bat in the 1st inning. He has 2 of BYU's 5 hits. And the fastball continues to work well for S.K. Johnson.
You know it's moving and working well when you're seeing a lot of swing and misses. And these are good hitters. Brock Hale's a very good hitter. Caton Kringland's a very good hitter. Favero's a good hitter, and they're swinging and missing at 92-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Ball and a strike to the 3rd baseman from BYU, Nate Favero. And again behind the pitch from Spencer Kevin Johnson. Not to be confused with Kevin Johnson, because the Utes feature both of those names on their pitching staff. There is Spencer Kevin Johnson and Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, they kind of nickname it Spencer Kev.
1-2. Favero down on strikes. The fastball high in the zone has taken care of 3 consecutive BYU batters. Kringland, Hale, and now Favero, 3, 4, and 5 respectively, and that'll bring Brian Sue to the plate with 2 down in the bottom of the 6th.
That time you can see Favero goes out of the zone, chases the ball that's up around his shoulders to strike out on that one. But boy, it looks good when it's coming in, but the ball's really kind of tailing and just kind of getting a lot of movement there, fooling these BYU hitters.
Johnson has faced 5 BYU batters, has struck out 4 of them. The only person to put a ball in play was Daniel Schneemann, that a ground out. Now Brian Sue stares at strike 1. How's that for efficiency? You've pitched an inning and 2/3 and you've struck out 4 batters.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And then we're looking at that fastball. Boy, you know, he really has good movement and velocity, location.
Sue fouled back right side into the screen, 0-2.
You know, and he's faced the meat of BYU's order. First inning he had Anderson, Schneemann, and Kringle, 1, 2, and 3. And this inning he has Hale, Favero, and Sue, which is 4, 5, and 6. So he's faced the meat of BYU's order and struck out 4 out of 5 of them.
The 0-2 pitch to Brian Sue, high and inside, ball 1. Brian Sue, 4 home runs, batting .315. Ball 2 low and outside. Count now 2-2. And Sue patiently has now worked it to a full count against Spencer Kevin Johnson.
The only thing that Spencer Kevin Johnson hasn't been able to do really is get that curveball over. He just hasn't been able to just break it off enough. It's been staying up too high.
Brian Sue, what his coach Mike Littlewood calls a super athlete, can dunk a basketball, 360. His numbers show obvious power with the 4 home runs I just mentioned he has on the season. And he's a kid that's dealt with some interesting health challenges. He's had 4 or 5 seizures since he's been at BYU, but is well aware when he's not feeling well enough that he'll tell his coaches, hey, I'm not right, you need to pull me out.
That's why you don't see him play in double headers too often, but he did it earlier this year here at home.
The appeal down the line, and Sue goes down on strikes as well. Spencer Kevin Johnson has faced 6 BYU batters and struck out 5. Utah remains in charge, 8-2. We'll go to the 7th.
There are many reasons people prepare. They prepare because the winds blow, and the waters rise, and economies fail. But the most important reason people prepare, they prepare because they care. For over 30 years, Emergency Essentials has been helping families prepare for whatever the future brings. Learn more at BePrepared.com.
Here's a classic movie quiz. 1959's Ben-Hur stars Charlton Heston.
Rome is an affront to God.
This grand epic earned more Oscar awards than any film before it. How many did it win?
May God grant me vengeance.
11, including Best Picture. You provide the popcorn, the couch, and the TV. We'll provide great movies like Ben-Hur.
We enter the 7th inning in Provo, Utah. The Utes of Utah trying to snap their 6-game losing streak, in good position to do so with an 8-2 lead. Bill Kinneberg, the head coach, has to be feeling good. He's with Jason Shepard.
All right, Coach, some missed opportunities early with runners in scoring position, but it completely changed in the 5th. What was the biggest difference?
Well, we got some key hits, and which we didn't in the past. He was doing a good job. He struck, I think, 5 guys out in a row, and then all of a sudden, ball kind of elevated a little bit for him, and we got to him. Yeah, we could have scored a lot of runs the first couple innings, but at least we got those in the 4th.
You've thrown 3 guys so far, 2 earned runs. What have been your impressions from you guys on the mound?
Well, they've done a good job throwing strikes. You know, we'll throw SJ here one more inning, and then we'll start, another 2 or 3 guys to end the game. So hopefully we'll continue throwing strikes and getting outs.
These games have a crazy way of ending up close regardless of who has the lead. What do you expect?
No doubt. It's gonna come down to the last inning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jason Shepard, and thank you to the head coach from Utah, Bill Kinneberg. Well, the way that Spencer Kevin Johnson is throwing the ball from the mound for Utah, striking out 5 of the 6 batters he's faced in the 5th and 6th innings. I'm not so sure this will come down to a weird scenario as long as he keeps doing what he's doing. BYU, meanwhile, trying to stay within striking distance as Matt Richardson leads off the top of the 7th for the Utes. He's 1 for 3, the number 8 batter. He'll be followed by Shea Kramer, and then back at the top of the order with the always dangerous Deshaun Kiersey Jr.
BYU has a new pitcher out there, their 6th pitcher of the game. That's Blake Inouye.
Inouye gets Richardson to hit a soft ground ball to Brennan Anderson at second base. Play made at first, 1 down. Blake Inouye's numbers: 33 innings of work, 25 strikeouts, 10 walks. Pretty good strikeout to walk ratio. It's a record of 1-3 and a 5.73 earned run average. He takes care of Richardson and will now face the catcher Kramer. Pitch number 1 in there for a strike. Inouye comes back with a fastball, and Kramer behind that, 0-2. Our scorebox sponsor tonight, Brady Industries, a provider of commercial cleaning supplies and equipment. 0-2 count to Shea Kramer, number 9 batter for Utah, top of the 7th with 1 out, and ball 1 is delivered high from Blake Inouye.
Well, it was a good interview, that last inning with Coach Kinneberg, and it's kind of funny to hear. You know, it looks like the game is just going your way. It's 8-2, and it's just kind of funny to hear the coach say, yeah, it's probably going to get close. You know, you just don't have a comfort level here. Happened to BYU. Utah scored 4 runs top of the 9th inning to tie it up and send it into overtime. I mean, extra innings in the first game. So you just never get a comfort level, even though this game seems to be going your way. With this rivalry game, anything can happen, and it usually does.
Without hesitation, he said, yep, it'll come down to the last inning. Fouled away, 2-2. Shea Kramer searching for his first hit of the game. 7 of the 9 Utah starters have recorded at least 1 hit. Chandler Anderson leading the way with 3 hits in 4 at-bats. Oliver Dunn 2 for 4. Riker Tom 2 for 3. Strike 3 looking. Inouye takes care of Kramer, who goes to 0-4 on the night. And there are 2 down in the 7th.
Beautiful pitch that time by Inouye, right on the outside part of the plate, and about knee high. Just a tough pitch to hit. But if you look at the bottom of the Utah order again, 7 through 9, their production is 1 for 11. So they're just a little, the top half of the order is doing fine, but the bottom half, they're going to have to start playing up a little better as you start playing the Pac-12 teams and be productive from that bottom part of the order.
Deshaun Kiersey Jr. extended his hit streak to 5 consecutive games. Look at the scoop play by Sue as he flips it over to Inoue covering first base. A play that is not easy, made to look relatively routine. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. BYU trying to chip away in this 6-run game.
I would like to congratulate the men's basketball team on their big win this weekend. I know that one of them is here. I want you to stand up.
Stand up.
It's not me. I'm not on the team.
Then how do you explain this?
I bought it?
He's on the team.
Come on, Jake. There's no need to be humble.
I'm not on the team.
No midterm if he makes this shot. If he misses extra homework.
Gear so legit, they'll think you're on the team. BYU Store.
Hi, I'm Rick Steves. We've put together an exciting visual extravaganza with clips we've never shown on the air. We'll take a multi-country joyride of a changing European continent, its people, and its mighty infrastructure. Even as this continent of 500 million people unites, it's finding ways to allow its rich mix of cultures to celebrate their unique identities. We have a lifetime of travel fun coming your way.
Our BYU Store Sports History Showcase brought to you by the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere, the BYU Store. Rewind not too long ago, March 20th of this year, game number 1 between BYU and Utah. The Cougars jumping out to a 6-2 lead. But Utah puts together a 4-run top of the 9th inning to force extra innings. And then BYU would capitalize on a wild pitch. Walk-off in unusual fashion to take game number 1. The Utes responded with a 4-3 victory in Salt Lake City in early April, a couple of weeks ago. And now to game 3, Utah in control 8-2 as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. The good news for Utah, or bad news if you're a BYU fan, is that Spencer Kevin Johnson is throwing nasty stuff from the mound. Faced 6 BYU batters over the last 2 innings, has struck out 5 of them, and is showing no signs of slowing down.
And the crazy thing about that, he has not been able to get his curveball over. So BYU is sitting on fastballs, knowing it's coming, but the pitches have been so good with such movement that they still can't hit it.
Dave Clausen, the catcher for BYU, will lead things off for BYU on the left side. And he'll try and record a big hit against Johnson. Pulls that one deep down the field, but it is hooking foul. I mean, that ball was hit way out of the park, but in foul territory.
Yeah, well, Clausen really turned on that one. That was an 89-mile-an-hour fastball, and Clausen has a really quick bat, and that just got out of here in a hurry, but it was about 10 feet foul down the right field line.
And we'll see if perhaps that makes Johnson think twice about relying on that fastball. Check swing, foul tip back into the screen, and Clausen down 0-2. Spencer Kevin Johnson, SJ, as his coach Bill Kinneberg called him in that interview with Jason Shepard, trying to strike out his 6th batter in 7 faced, and has an 0-2 count on DC Clausen. Outside for a ball.
Again, there's that changeup. He just can't get that pitch over. And Clausen, boy, he can turn on those fastballs. And you make a mistake here, you know, Clausen can give it a rip and he can knock it out of the park.
Johnson in his comfort zone out of the stretch. And after a long stare down to Clausen, the BYU catcher calls for time, will back out. And now step back into the box, ready for the 1-2 pitch. Clausen batting .237 on the season. His average up to .273 when he has let off, as he is doing here in the bottom of the 7th. And Clausen delivers down the right field line. That'll go for a stand-up double. And will that be enough to spark the BYU offense to try and make things interesting here over the last 3 innings? DC Clausen with a leadoff double.
Yeah, Clausen was all over that ball. He was seeing that well. First time up, he just knocked it out of the park. A little foul, but look at this one. Kind of down and in. And look at that quick bat. It's a hooking liner down the right field line. And Clausen easily throws into second base with a leadoff double here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Kyle Dean as the designated hitter, 2 for 2. Will now step into the box. Couple of singles and try and remain perfect against Johnson, with Clausen on second base in scoring position. He goes right back to the fastball, swung on, strike 1.
Well, here's another guy that can lose a ball in a hurry. You come up in the zone with Kyle Dean. He's 2 for 2 on the night, seeing the ball well. You come up and he can knock it out of the park too.
Kyle Dean, with his 2 hits today, has taken his season average from 200 up to 243. They are really hoping this guy gets going, are the BYU coaches. And he takes ball 1 low. Clausen on second. BYU trying to chip into the 6-run lead in the bottom of the 7th. A leadoff double, no outs. Kyle Dean, 2 for 2 on his night, takes the 1-1 pitch. Hit well to center field. Chasing Kiersey back. That'll hop off the wall. Here comes Clausen around third, and Dean has a double for BYU. He's 3 for 3, back-to-back doubles for the Cougars, and tack on 1 run for BYU. I thought that might have been out of here the way it came off the bat.
Boy, I tell you, it just didn't get enough height on it. That ball was hit so hard. Look at this pitch, up in the zone a little bit, and Kyle really ripped it. It hit right at the base of the wall out there in left field. No chance for center fielder Kiersey Jr. to catch up with that. And that's a double for Dean. 3 for 3 on the night with an RBI. And BYU's cut the lead to 5 here. And that will be all. Coach Kenneberg's coming out, and that will be all. Finally, BYU solved SJ with a couple bombs out to the outfield.
Back-to-back doubles for BYU. 1 run in here in the bottom of the 7th to make it a 5-run Utah lead at 8-3. Jarrett Perns will be the batter in the number 9 spot. And Perns will face Joshua Tedeschi.
Yeah, that is Mike Crawford, the mound coach for Utah.
Johnson does give up the back-to-back doubles, but he was lights out in the first 2 innings he pitched, striking out Brennan Anderson. Keaton Kringlen, take a seat. Brock Hale, nope. Nate Favero, he goes down swinging. Brian Sue, no chance. 5 strikeouts for SJ, Spencer Kevin Johnson. And he will give way to Tedeschi, the 4th pitcher tonight for the Utah Utes.
Tedeschi, 6'4", 180-pounders, a junior out of Dos Pueblos High School in California. Last year, he made 12 appearances in relief, throwing 19 in the 3rd innings. He had a 2-0 record with a 2.79 ERA, made it 16 appearances in 2016 and redshirted 2015.
Tedeschi is a guy that's a jack of all trades from a pitching standpoint for Utah. Can go the distance as a starter. Coming in relief here in the 7th inning. Kyle Dean on second after his RBI double drove in 1 run for BYU. DC Clausen leading off the 7th with a double. And now Jarrett Perns will be the batter. Tomorrow night, a reminder, very busy week of BYU sports, and you can watch it on BYU TV, notably BYU women's softball, as they're back on the BYU TV airwaves with an in-state rivalry of their own, hosting Utah State. Coverage starts at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time. And Gary, if you're not worn out tonight, you can handle more of me, then we can flip over to the other side and call that game.
I'll tell you what, this is I love working with these Spence, and that softball team, you know, they're special. They've been conference champs for I don't know how many years in a row. They just seem to know how to, you know, play at the right time with Coach Eakin there. And if you haven't seen him play, come on over tomorrow night and watch him. It should be a really good game. And the rest of this week, boy, we got San Diego coming in playing baseball. We've got St. Mary's coming in for softball. Should be a fun week.
You mentioned the softball team, and it's difficult not to take for granted what they do, because it's just the norm for them to win the conference and earn that auto bid to the NCAA tournament. But we really shouldn't. You step back and watch how consistently good they have been in conference play. And again, they're the heavy favorites in the West Coast Conference this year to win it all and make another trip to the NCAA tournament. Utah State at Gail Miller Field tomorrow. Jarrett Perns is the batter. Correction, it is Mitch McIntyre in a pinch hit performance. 301 on the season. 11 runs batted in. And Tedeschi delivers low.
Situation here where Mitch McIntyre leads the team with a current 7-game hitting streak. So he's going to get one opportunity here against Tedeschi to try to extend that streak.
Both McIntyre and Jarrett Perns bring plenty of speed to this BYU defense. Interchangeable at center field. And now McIntyre goes low to stay alive. Count will stay at 1 ball and 2 strikes. BYU with 1 run across here in the bottom of the 7th. No outs on the board. Back-to-back doubles to lead things off for the Cougars, courtesy of Dave Clausen and Kyle Dean.
And you talk about softball. Mitch's mother, Jill Whitehouse, played softball for BYU.
McIntyre check swing. The appeal down the third base line. He did not go around. 2-2. Dean on second. 2-2, swung on and missed. And McIntyre is retired on strikes.
And there's a fastball kind of up in the zone a little bit. Just threw it right by him. Mitch is a little bit late on that.
Fastball up in the zone has been a thorn in the side for BYU baseball tonight, regardless of the pitcher. It has been all too appealing and not an effective way to hit against this Utah pitching staff. Brennan Anderson, the batter. Puts that on the ground. Dean will remain at second. Throw is high, and Anderson will be safe as Wade Golden is pulled from the bag. And a tough break for Tedeschi, who got the ground ball that he needed. Matt Richardson, the shortstop, perhaps hurried the throw a bit, knowing the speed of Anderson is an issue. and the Cougars catch a break.
Yeah, that's just a situation where Matt Richardson makes an easy pickup on the grounder and typically just makes a nice throw over there and gets the out. But that time, sometimes you try to put a little extra mustard on the ball and you release it a little bit differently and the ball sails on you, and that's what happened to Matt that time.
Runners on first and second, one out. Daniel Schneemann is the batter. And he'll take a strike at the knees from Tedeschi.
Daniel's 0 for 2. He walked in the first and grounded to third unassisted in the third and fifth. Grounded to first unassisted.
Oh and 1, Schneemann. Little chopper. Get weakly into foul territory down the first baseline, and it's 0 and 2. Tedeschi now with 38 strikeouts after taking care of Mitch McIntyre. Good for second most on this Utah pitching staff. Looking for strikeout number 39 against Daniel Schneemann, outside, ball 1. Opportunistic inning for BYU. They have already scored 1 run to make it a 5-run game, with the Utes leading 8-3. And runners on first and second for Daniel Schneemann with 1 down. There is ball 2 low from Tedeschi.
Well, there's a couple good pitches right there that Schneemann has laid off. That ball was a little bit low. The previous pitch was a little bit outside. So you can see Tedeschi's kind of working the corners, working in and out, and just missing. But Schneemann's got a good eye up there, battling through this at bat.
Keaton Kringlen on deck. Dean on second, Anderson on first. Schneemann, the 2-2. Takes strike 3 from Tedeschi as he paints the outside corner.
That was like a cut fastball that time. Just a perfect location for Tedeschi. Watch this. Movement, outside corner. Boy, just a pitcher's pitch right there. Schneemann just couldn't reach it, and he thought it was a little bit outside. And that's a very good pitch that time by Tedeschi to get the second out of the inning.
Things looked awfully good for BYU after back-to-back doubles to lead off the inning, but the Utes can minimize the damage here thanks to some clutch pitching from Josh Tedeschi. Keaton Kringlen bloops one into center field. That'll drop. Here comes Kyle Dean. Brennan Anderson being held up at third, and the Cougars have put 2 across to make it 8-4. Runners on the corners after Keaton Kringlen drives in a run.
Now you can see Keaton just kind of straightening out his fingers there at first base. That was hit right off the end of the bat, but he's got enough power to muscle it past the out the infield there. That ball just bloops and bloops. You'd think the second baseman, Oliver Dunn, have a chance to get to it, but no. And with 2 outs, everybody's running. So that'll be a run batted in for Kringlen. He's now 2 for 4 on the day. BYU cuts the lead to 8-4 here.
If there's a bright spot for BYU tonight offensively, it's been batting with runners in scoring position. And that's been an issue for the Cougars recently. They are 4 for 9 as a team and 3 for 8 with 2 outs. Keaton Kringlen helping those averages with his 2-out RBI single. Brock Hale, the cleanup batter for BYU, trying to make things even more interesting here with Anderson on third. A base hit would make this an 8-5 game. The Cougars trailed 8-2 entering the bottom of the 7th. Tedeschi, 2 down, runners on the corners. Hale is the batter Foul tip off the turf at home plate and into Hale for a dead ball, strike 2.
And Utah pitchers have just painted that outside part of the plate against Hale. Hale hasn't seen anything farther than a few inches off of the plate on the outside part of it. So again, they're just trying to get him where he has to extend the hands and protect on 2 strikes and not get the power that he has into a swing.
Hale 0 for 2 did reach on a fielder's choice, scored a run on a wild pitch to make it 2-2 back in the 3rd inning, and takes ball 1 well outside. Critical moments here in the bottom of the 7th. Tedeschi to Brock Hale, 2-hopper to second base, and no problem for Oliver Dunn. He steps on the bag. That'll end the threat. BYU does play 2 runs to cut the lead to 4 runs for Utah at 8-4. We'll go to the 8th inning. Rivalry Baseball continues on BYU TV.
When the Sports Nation guys do a show at Deseret First Credit Union, you never know which BYU Sports VIP might show up.
That's the Cosmobile. The Cosmobile's rolling up, baby. Woo! Cosmo's here!
Hey, maybe Cosmo needs a student checking account or a soda inside.
This has already been the best in a minute ever. Ever. Go bump that music, Cosmo.
Deseret First Credit Union, proud to support BYU Sports Nation on BYU Radio and BYU TV.
They live along the South African coastline, and their habitat next to humans puts these African penguins in harm's way.
We've run out of space, basically.
But a team of specialists is dedicated to helping them survive.
Doing absolutely everything in our power to save that bird.
It's the Uplifting series about the efforts to rescue this extraordinary species, Penguin Hospital.
Utah leading BYU 8-4 through 7 complete innings. The Cougars tack on 2 to make things a little bit more interesting as we move further into this rivalry game on a Tuesday night. A reminder that each and every weekday on BYU TV and SiriusXM channel 143 BYU Radio, you can watch or listen to the national simulcast BYU Sports Nation. Join myself, Spencer Linton, and my co-host Jerem Jordan for your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play from Studio B. Anything and all things BYU Sports. If you want to know about it, check out BYU Sports Nation.
Well, Spence, you guys do such a good job, you and Jerem, and today you had Coach Littlewood on there. How was that?
It's always good when Mike Littlewood visits Studio B, and specifically for Mrs. Jordan, Jerem's wife, and for my wife, Brittany, who think of Mike Littlewood as a bit of a heartthrob. So if you want a BYU coach celebrity crush, that's the way to go.
That's awesome.
Coach Littlewood did tell us today that the one thing that BYU has done consistently this year is they've been pretty good defensively. They have not committed a ton of errors, and he's been overall pleased with the way the defense has showed up game in and game out. They're just searching for that consistency, and then said really had trouble driving in runners in key positions. Well, tonight, as we just pointed out, BYU with runners in scoring position 4 for 10. I don't know if you can ask for much more than that as a coach.
Yeah, and Utah had the opportunity early in this game to kind of put it away, but they couldn't come through. A couple times the bases loaded and runners in scoring position, and the inning was, I think, 3 strikeouts in a row. But anyway, they had opportunities and then took advantage of it. In the top of the 5th inning there was 6 runs.
Chandler Anderson takes strike 2. He's had quite a night from the plate, 3 for 4 in that number 2 spot. 2 singles, a double, run batted in as part of that 6-run 5th inning. The Utes looking for win number 10 on the season, just 9-28 coming into this matchup against BYU. Last place in the Pac-12. But a win over the Cougars can always make a team feel better, especially if it's Utah, and spark them towards what they hope is a nice run through the rest of Pac-12 play. Curveball from the new BYU pitcher, Jake Sudreth. It's called a ball outside, 2-2. First batter of the 8th inning. Ground ball up the middle. Schneemann over to cover it from shortstop. Throws to Sue. 1 down.
BYU has such a good middle part of the infield. When you've got Schneemann at short, Brennan Anderson at second. They've been there for a couple of years now, and they've done some incredible double play combination plays, and that. Ralph Zabel comes in one day and says, that's a Sports Center type play right there. And we said, yeah, we know, Ralph. That's something we see often here with those two guys. And boy, I'll tell you, Ralph Zabel, the sports baseball SID for BYU, is so good. He was the Wilbur Schnipp Award winner back in 2016, selected by the National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association. So he's as good as there is in the country. And Utah's got a good one also. We like when she comes over here. Brooke Frederickson does a great job of giving us information. Always friendly and very intelligent.
Ball sharply hit by Oliver Dunn, who just picked up his 3rd single of the game. He's 3 for 5 and gets the better of Jake Sudreth. 1 down, 1 on. Hit number 12 for the Utes as a team, who lead 8-4.
And that pitch is not in a really good location, but you can see Brennan Anderson. He's going to dive after every ball. Even if he can't get to it, he always thinks he's got a chance to get it. He'll give every effort he can over there at second base.
We're going back to Ralph Zabel, the sports information director for the BYU baseball team. And the double play that you were referencing, where he said, hey, that's a Sports Center top 10 quality play. He was right. Number 4 that night. Double play beauty turned by Schneemann and Brennan Anderson, as Schneemann flipped the ball out of his glove after a diving stop just behind second base, and got them not just on the top 10 but in the top 5 on SportsCenter's Nightly Countdown in a game against Santa Clara. The Cougars swept that series, and BYU could certainly use a sweep or just even a series win in West Coast Conference play, really to hold on to legitimate hopes of finishing in the top 4 and making the West Coast Conference tournament.
Yeah, it's tough to say that this Utah game doesn't really mean anything because it's not a conference game. And it does because it's a rivalry game. But in the big picture, it doesn't, because conference game is where you get into the playoffs, top 4, a chance to be in the regional tournament like they were last year. So, they want to win this game, and if you said you didn't want to win, you wouldn't be telling the truth. But if you don't, you got to pull it together Thursday, Friday, and Saturday against San Diego and start winning games to get yourself in position to make the tournament with the top 4 teams.
Riker Tom is the batter, 1 ball and 1 strike, facing Jake Sudreth. Tom 2 for 3 on his evening. He's got a couple of runs batted in, a single and a double. He walked in his most recent at-bat in the 6th inning. Now 2 balls and a strike. Jason Shepard, we'd love it if you join our conversation. What do you have for us?
Well, I was actually having the conversation that you and Gary were just having with Coach Littlewood yesterday in his office, and just talking about the West Coast Conference from top to bottom. And Coach Littlewood just said there's so much parity that anybody could beat anybody. He says, thank goodness this year, because it's really given us a chance to get some wins. He says winning the league is not out of the realm of possibility. Clearly being one of the top 4 is right there in our grasp. So just because of the way that this conference is playing out, BYU, even in the spot they are right now, still feels like they have an opportunity.
Fly ball to right field off the bat of Riker Tom. No problem for Brock Hale. He earns the put out for out number 2 in the top of the 8th. And Sudreth will now face Eric Migueles. Continuing on with the conversation that Jason just added to, as frustrating as things have been for BYU in the West Coast Conference this season, picked to win the conference by the coaches in the preseason, the Cougars are 7-8. They still have 12 games to play. They're just 2.5 games out of one of those top 4 spots. And they had their bye last week, so 2.5 games out. All but 2 of the teams, including BYU, have just 9 to play. So the Cougars have some room to make up in the win column if they can handle their business. Coach Littlewood said, look, we're just trying to win the remaining 4 series we have in WCC play. And even if they win 2 of 3 against those 4 opponents, that's 8-4. That would give them 15 wins, and 15 is kind of the magic number for feeling safe to get into the top 4.
Yeah, you know, that's a good feeling. You know, just win the series. Last year they did that. They won most of the series that they played. So
all but 2.
Yeah, so if they get it going, get their mojo going, and starts this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday against San Diego. And San Diego was picked to be way up on top, but they haven't been able to come through with the, you know, what they had expected to be. So should be a good series. Come on out and watch it. Should be fun to see.
The 0-2 pitch to Migueles is low for ball 1 from Sudruth with 2 outs. Sudruth did give up the single to Oliver Dunn. Trying to get out of this inning with no more runs surrendered, or hits for that matter, and keep the momentum on BYU's side. Runner goes, good throw from Clausen, and Dunn is gunned down. A laser from behind home plate from DC Clausen, and that wasn't close. Dunn thrown out by a mile. Three down in the top of the 8th. BYU still trailing by 4.
The Missionary Starter Package at Mr. Mac includes 1 wool blend 2-pant suit, 4 wrinkle-free dress shirts, 4 washable ties, and a pair of Echo or Johnson & Murphy walking shoes. The Missionary Starter Package at all 10 Mr. Mac stores.
The Ganges, a river central to life in India. Host Sue Perkins explores this waterway.
I don't know what I expect.
She discovers the incredible places
Utterly beautiful.
and people
That makes me love you even more.
along this sacred river.
Politeness has no place on this bridge.
The challenges
I don't even know what that smell is.
and splendor
One of the most spiritual sights in the entire world.
of the Ganges.
My proposal will go exactly the way I planned.
My dead body! I think somebody needs a timeout. Oh, that's the power of one.
Bottom of the 8th inning, Utah leading BYU 8-4. The Cougars added 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th to make things more interesting, and noteworthy that Utah trailed by 4 runs in the 9th inning last time these teams played at Miller Park in Provo, Utah, and put together a 4-run top of the 9th to force extra innings. So who knows? Bill Kinneberg, we talked to him in the 6th inning when his team was leading by 6 runs and said, it's going to come down to the last inning. And I doubted with the way that the Utah middle relievers were throwing, but perhaps I was well off base as we come down to the final 6 outs for BYU baseball. They're looking to provide some sparks and make it weird in Provo.
Well, Spencer Kevin Johnson had just struck out 5 of 6 BYU batters. Nobody was seeing the ball. No one's coming close to it. And then Coach Kinneberg was just saying, yeah, it'll probably come down to the last inning again, you know, and you're just thinking, wow, if Johnson's throwing that well, and all of a sudden, just like that, BYU couple runs, it's 8-4, which brings, if you get the bases loaded, it brings a tying run to the plate. So, yeah, you're here to chip away for BYU, get a run or 2 this inning, and see what happens next inning.
Tedeschi facing Nate Favero to lead off the bottom of the 8th for BYU. 2 balls and 1 strike after that pitch misses outside.
Tedeschi's the 4th pitcher for Utah. They went with Rebar, then Pierce, then Kevin Johnson, and now Tedeschi. And BYU, on the other hand, with Jake Sudruth, he's their 7th pitcher of the day.
Favero down low in the zone to foul that one away, 2-2.
And Utah does have bullpen action. So, as Coach Kinneberg said, we probably got another 1 or 2 guys that'll be coming in. And you see the righty out there warming up.
Tedeschi offers the 2-2, and Favero goes down on strikes. The lefty for the Utes tacks on another strikeout.
Well, again, that ball just went right by Favero. But Favero's had a good night, 2 for 4. You know, he's knocked in a run. So he's had a good night, 2 for 4. You take that any day.
Tedeschi has faced 6 BYU batters. He has struck out 3. So in combo with Spencer Kevin Johnson, those two have been very effective from the mound. Brian Sue with 1 down. Clausen on deck. He started an effective bottom of the 7th for BYU with a leadoff double. Later scored on a double from Kyle Dean. Sue quickly down on the count, 0-2. 8 runs on 12 hits for Utah, 4 runs on 8 hits for BYU. Both teams have committed 1 error. Brian Sue 0 for 3 tonight, searching for hit number 1. And Tedeschi fools Sue, 4th strikeout in the 7 batters he's faced now, and 2 quick outs with Clausen coming to the plate.
Well, we're seeing something from the bullpen of Utah with Spencer Kevin Johnson coming in, striking out 5 of the first 6 batters that he faces. And here with Tedeschi, 4 of the first 6 batters he faces. So tonight you can see the potential that Utah has if their bullpen can, you know, pitch like this.
First pitch strike to Clausen from Tedeschi on a fastball. The outside corner has been favorable for Josh Tedeschi in his inning and 2/3. 0-1. And Tedeschi will think about it a bit. We need to get on the same page, and has his signal from Shea Kramer, the catcher. That one low for ball 1. The Utes 4 outs away from ending their 6-game losing streak, in doing so against BYU, but Clausen still seeing the ball well. That ball is cut off deep in center field by Kiersey Jr., and David Clausen has back-to-back doubles in his last 2 appearances.
Well, and that's good to see, because Clausen, both those doubles were just hit right on the button, and in his previous at bat, first pitch, he knocked it out of the ballpark about 10 feet foul. So look at this swing, man. Very quick swing, ball's up in the zone a bit. And by the time Kiersey Jr. gets it in, Clausen easily strolls into second base with a 2-out double here. And in the bullpen, Utah has Austin Moore, number 30, a righty, throwing. Couldn't see a number with that jersey over the top there, but that's Austin Moore.
Kyle Dean, the batter, 3 for 3 tonight. He doubled in the 7th inning, and now looking to drive in Clausen with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th.
And that last double that Kyle hit, boy, he hit it so hard, just didn't elevate it enough. It just right short off the fence in center field. But 3 for 3, a single in the 2nd, a single in the 4th, and a double in the 7th.
A breakout night for Kyle Dean in what has been kind of a head-scratcher season, both health-wise and the limited opportunities he's been given. This is huge for Dean as the designated hitter tonight, and his confidence moving forward when BYU is going to need him the most in the stretch run of West Coast Conference play.
And he's brought his average up to 263. Started the day at 200. So that's a big jump. And here he is a little behind in the count, but 3 for 3 on the evening.
0-2. Runner on second is Clausen, who doubled with 2 outs into right center field. Dean takes a pitch high from Tedeschi, 1-2. And you just get the feeling that BYU is probably going to have to scramble something together here with 2 outs in the 8th to really feel like they've got a shot to tie things up in the 9th inning.
Yeah, you're just trying to chip away here. Big 2-out hit right here.
That pitch bounces in front of home plate. Good block by Kramer, the catcher for Utah, 2-2. BYU 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position. Clausen obviously in that position now, hoping that Kyle Dean can extend his perfect hitting night from the plate. 3 for 3 with 2 singles and a double, including a run batted in. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dean swings and misses. High fastball from Tedeschi. Advantage Utah pitching once again. He's got 5 strikeouts against the 9 batters he's faced. We'll go to the 9th. Utah in control.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, a mid-century modern settee is too comfortable to resist.
He actually designed this so that you could be a little bit more casual and put a leg over the side.
Find out more next time on Antiques Roadshow from Portland, Oregon.
We hope you brought your appetite because KBYU 11 is serving up your favorite cooking shows. From afternoon snacks to scrumptious treats, these recipes will bring the whole family together. For more food, laughs, and family entertainment, keep it here at home with 11.
Thank you. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Top of the 9th inning, Utah with an 8-4 lead over BYU on 12 hits. The Cougars with 9 hits, but they couldn't put a runner across with 2 outs, and David Clausen in scoring position. So they'll need a magical 9th inning to try and keep things interesting against Utah on their home field. Drew Zimmerman will be the pitcher in the 9th for BYU and Mike Littlewood. 1.30 earned run average, 2-1 record, 27 2/3 innings pitched, and he's got 22 strikeouts to 11 walks.
And if you're just turning this game on, this is the 8th pitcher for BYU tonight. Bo Burrup started. He was replaced by Kendall Moats, then Rhett Parkinson, Alex Perrone, Kenny Saenz, Blake Inoue, Jake Sudreth, and Drew Zimmerman. 8 pitchers in 9 innings. And that was the plan coming in, pitcher by committee.
Scripted out by Mike Littlewood. The blow-up inning for the BYU pitching staff happened in the 5th when Utah put up 6 runs to take an 8-2 lead, and there is a leadoff single by Eric Migueles, a designated hitter who is now 2 for 4, and he was a big part of Utah's 5th inning barrage with an RBI double.
Yeah, first pitch there, you could see Drew Zimmerman was trying to get ahead of the count, strike 1, but got it up a little bit in the zone. The fastball grooved it a little bit, and McGillis just ripped it. Base hit out the right field.
That'll bring up Wade Golden, who took over at first base a few innings ago for his first at-bat. Golden trying to lay down a bunt, pushes it foul territory on the third base side. Golden saw a lot of time in the most recent Pac-12 series for the Utes against Arizona State. Hit a 2-run home run in game 1 of that series and has recorded a hit in 4 of his last 5 appearances. Showing bunt again, and that's a foul tip back for strike 2. Miguel is on first after a leadoff single in the top of the 9th. Utah with an 8-4 lead. Wade Golden at first base. Takes strike 3 staring. And Drew Zimmerman has his first out here in the 9th.
Well, Zimmerman just paints that outside corner right there, right on the black. Golden was first 2 attempts trying to sacrifice the runner over and fouled both the bunts off, and last pitch by Zimmerman was a really good location.
That'll bring up Dominic Foscolina with 1 out. Strike 1 from Zimmerman. Foscolina reached on a bunt, drove in a run while doing so in that 6-run 5th inning. And he's down 0-2 to Zimmerman.
You can see that good curveball by Zimmerman. He's got a fastball that's in the low 90s, locates it well, good movement, and that curveball really bites. Also got a nice slider.
One out, 1 on. 4-run advantage for Utah on the top of the 9th. Zimmerman outside for ball 1 to make the count 1-2. The 1-2, Foscolina fights it off, popped up, out of play, out of the park. Over the stands beyond first base, and the count will stay at 1-2. We missed it earlier. Dominic Foscolina missed 10 games after he took a pitch to the head in game 1 of the series against number 5 ranked Oregon State, and returned last week after that long layoff against Arizona State. So glad he's doing better. And head injuries, regardless of the sport, always kind of make you take a step back and look at the big picture. Foscolina back in the lineup and making a difference tonight here in this game against BYU. 2 hopper to short, potential double play ball, 6-4-3. BYU turns it. Zimmerman puts together a beauty of an inning on the mound for BYU with a strikeout. Did give up the single, but gets the double play ground ball, and will go to the bottom of the 9th. BYU searching for some heroics. McIntyre, Anderson, and Schneemann due up. Don't go anywhere.
Next time on Death in Paradise.
The victim's name is Touch Walker.
A man is murdered after his expedition strikes it rich.
Santa Ana Silva. Do you mean like actual treasure?
The victim identified his killer with a final phone call.
He said he was on your boat and that you stabbed him.
And there's this.
I killed Touch Walker.
Sorry, what?
So why isn't Humphrey convinced?
What more do you want?
Find out on Death in Paradise.
What we're doing, we could get hanged. I've had the police in here asking for you.
The case is being investigated by a man called Detective Chief Superintendent Foyle.
Detective Chief Superintendent Foyle, no less.
What did he want?
He didn't tell me.
I'm telling you, he's dangerous.
Good versus evil, Arthur. That's all it boils down to. Nothing difficult about that.
Into the bottom of the ninth inning, rivalry baseball on a Tuesday night in Provo, Utah at Miller Park and Larry H. Miller Field. The Utah Utes with an 8-4 advantage, doubling up BYU right now. The Cougars got out of the top of the ninth with a 6-4-3 double play turned by the solid infield of Daniel Schneemann, Brennan Anderson over to Brian Sue at first. Mitch McIntyre will lead things off for BYU here in the bottom of the ninth against the new pitcher for Utah, Trenton Stoltz, who has an ERA of 4.97. The sidearm delivery, 15 strikeouts, 11 walks in 25 1/3 innings pitched. McIntyre will be followed by BYU's leadoff hitter in the lineup tonight, Brennan Anderson and Daniel Schneemann. After that, Kringlen, Hale, and Favero, the heart of the lineup for BYU. Utah trailed 6-2 in the ninth inning the last time they played in Provo. They put together a 4-run ninth to force extra innings, a game that BYU won on a wild pitch 7-6. So you never know in this always intriguing rivalry what's going to happen. Down to the ninth we go. Mitch McIntyre to lead things off against Stoltz. And strike one from the right-hander, Stoltz. The Rally Caps have found their way back to the BYU dugout. Maverick Buffalo was the guy for so long, who's now pitching and pitching well in single-A minor league baseball. And the Cougars are looking for their hat guy. McIntyre grounds out to second. Dunn over to Golden at first for 1 out. And that'll bring up Brennan Anderson. So McIntyre had a 7-game hit streak working until he entered this game as a pinch hitter. He goes 0 for 2 tonight, and that seems likely that it will come to an end.
Yeah, it does, unless it goes into extra innings here. But there's a few caps on the hat there. But Trenton Stoltz was the pitcher of record when he threw the wild pitch and BYU scored in the bottom of the 10th inning to win the first game. And in the second game, Stoltz was the final pitcher, pitched the third of an inning, got the final out in Utah's 4-3 victory. So he's on and trying to be the closer here in the ninth inning.
Brennan Anderson with the ball and no strikes, facing Trenton Stoltz. BYU in need of some magic. Strike one swinging from Anderson.
Yeah, we've seen that BYU strike one swinging and strike three swinging. 13 strikeouts tonight for the Utah pitchers against the BYU hitters.
5 for Spencer Kevin Johnson and 5 for Josh Tedeschi. Anderson fouled back right side screen, and it's 1-2. The Rally Caps are being worn tonight in the BYU dugout by Casey Jacobson, and the Cougars are also chewing on honey sticks, which apparently is a rally thing. Those honey sticks are called rally sticks, and superstitions live on in the game of baseball.
Yeah, they sure do. That's part of baseball.
Ball 2 to Brennan Anderson, now 2-2, 1 down, nobody on. BYU trailing by 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth. Anderson 0 for 4 in today's game against Utah. Full count as that pitch misses outside. Big pitch on the way from Stoltz to Anderson. Hit into right center. Kiersey Jr. on the run will make the catch. And there are 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. Utah 1 out away from ending a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, that time Anderson hit it hard. He kind of hit it in the gap, but Kiersey Jr. was kind of favoring that right center field area there, and he's so smooth out there. He just drifts. He's a glider. Glides under that, times it so well, and he made a difficult play look fairly easy.
Daniel Schneemann, last chance batter for BYU. Ball one inside and low from Stoltz. Kringlen on deck if it comes to that. Schneemann, well hit ball on a line, but right at Kiersey Jr., and that will wrap things up. The Utah Utes take game 3 of the 4-game season series from BYU and take a 2-1 lead, with game 4 to happen later in May in Salt Lake City. Kiersey Jr. with the putout to finalize the game. The Cougars now turn their attention to West Coast Conference play and a 3-game series against the Toreros of San Diego as they look to get back in the WCC hunt. Utah will head home for a 3-game series against the University of Arizona as they try and dig out of the basement of the Pac-12. Here's your Dexter and Dexter play of the game. Dexter Law is passionate about shouldering people's burdens as it is about BYU. Dexter and Dexter helps you when you need it most. DexterLaw.com. Utah with a 6-run 5th inning, and it got out of hand when Eric Migueles drove in a run, back-to-back doubles to start off that inning, and the Utes capitalize in Provo, snapping their 6-game losing streak. They get their 10th win overall the season, improved to 10-28. BYU drops to 18-17 overall. The Cougars 7-8 in WCC play, 2.5 games out of one of those top 4 spots for the postseason tournament.
Well, you can see the players out there shaking hands and good sportsmanship. Utah just came to play today. The number 2, 3, and 4 hitters, boy, 3 for 5, 3 for 5, 2 for 4, 2 for 4, just took over this game for Utah.
AAA MVP of the game brought to you by AAA. What does your insurance do when it's not doing insurance? It should do more. Learn more at AAA.com. Middle innings pitching was outstanding for Utah, led by the right-hander Spencer Kevin Johnson. 2 innings. At one point, he had faced 6 batters and struck out 5 of them. Did give up the 1 earned run, which brought in Josh Tedeschi. But wow, 13 combined strikeouts for the Utah pitching staff tonight in a committee effort to get the 8-4 win over BYU and take a 2-1 lead in the season series.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was a fun game to watch. Utah came out and took it to BYU. That's the way it works sometimes, and they'll have one more game to go at it in a couple weeks to see if BYU can end it, try to tie this series.
Utah with 8 runs on 13 hits. BYU with 4 runs on 9 hits. The Utes will leave Provo victorious. 8-4 the final. Tune in tomorrow for BYU women's softball. Another rivalry showdown. This time the Utah State Aggies make the 2-hour drive south from Logan, Utah. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. Join myself and Gary Scheide for the call from Gail Miller Field on the other side of Miller Park. For Jason Shepard, Gary Scheide, and every member of our outstanding BYU TV Sports crew, I'm Spencer Linton saying good night from Provo, Utah and Miller Park.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun's gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
They live along the South African coastline. and their habitat next to humans puts these African penguins in harm's way.
We've run out of space, basically.
But a team of specialists is dedicated to helping them survive.
Doing absolutely everything in our power to save that bird.
It's the uplifting